reach. Every single day, I just hear this noise, and I'm like, what the fuck? What is that? And I turn around, and it's Mike Ryan open up the garage door
The only one who does it.
at Gold's Gym.
Still.
Why? How's that your job?
It's been since, what, 90? What's that? What year is it? 28 years later from the official. You know what? It's
You get pissed if you see it open already?
No. I'm kind of thankful. But it's funny. I don't know what they lock it because they don't want people to open it. Because there was one time one of the guys,
Just keep the mic a little closer.
There's a little thing. Are we live now?
I think so.
All right. So we're just talking Gold's Gym early in the morning while he opened the gates. I take it as my personal responsibility.
This is my job,
It's my job, God damn it. I'm here to open the gate. No one else will. That's the problem. And that's the problem with Gold's Gym. Everyone walks around with blinders.
Yeah.
Like, Mike's in there at 4 o'clock. If it's 1,000 degrees, open the gate. It's a no-brainer, but people just rather bitch about it. Fucking gates are shut.
Humid in here. It smells.
Yeah. Okay, open the gate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people walk around with blinders all day long. You can tell in that gym because people don't put their shit away. Shit all over the place. The floor's a mess, you know? I mean, does that happen in your gym?
No.
Absolutely not.
I mean, so years ago, you were the manager of this. I mean, it's hard to describe Gold's Gym. It's hard to pin it down and explain it to people. But I went in there at around 6 o'clock on just a random day, like a Wednesday or something, and it was fucking insane. I mean, they have more equipment and more space than probably any gym in the world. There might be a gym or two bigger, but it's got to be one of the biggest.
Correct.
It has been for years and years. And do they get their equipment for free a lot of times?
Well, years ago, it was the best equipped gym in the world. When I was there, it wasn't a corporate structure like it is now. So back then, it was whatever happened in Venice, they could replicate. Other gyms want to replicate. So as a manufacturer, you come and you donate your equipment. You would donate your top 10, 12, 15 pieces. And so the gym had new equipment from every manufacturer switched out every 6 months. And as a manufacturer, they would call me, Mike, I got 10 potential gym owners from across the country. We're going to fly in Wednesday. I'd be like, okay, Wednesday. So I'd see Flex Will. I'd see Shaquille O'Neal. I would see Magic Johnson. I would see someone. I'd be like, hey, between 10 and 11, you guys mind training on the hammer strength equipment? I'm like, no. These guys would fly out, hammer strength to show all their stuff. And, of course, as a gym owner, you're like, oh, my God, you get the best bodybuilders. You get the best athletes. You get Kobe Bryant. I have to have this for my gym. Yeah, so it was a no-brainer for the manufacturers. And for us, it was great. I mean, we had every year you're getting over $1 million worth of equipment.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you think it works that way anymore, or probably not?
Potentially, I think there could be. That gym could do it.
Yeah.
Because of the clientele. You've been there. The clientele that goes in there.
Right.
I mean, on any day, you can see Arnold Schwarzenegger. To even Dwayne would go
I got
there.
to meet Arnold today.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
How cool is that?
It was great.
Isn't it?
It was like emotional. Like when he walked away, I got kind of choked up. I was like I finally met him. I've met him in passing a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But I actually had a couple seconds to talk to him. I was like, you just feel weird because you're like, I can't explain to the guy like what he's done, but he must already know.
Yeah.
You
I know.
what I mean?
It's funny because over the last couple of years, I've established quite a friendship, and to this day, like my morning story, I said, Arnold, this is my girlfriend. He's like, what do you mean you got a girlfriend? He goes, all these years with us together, why would you? You know what I mean? And I just start cracking up. I mean, he's such a ball buster, such a funny guy. You know what I mean?
Rolling with it right away.
Yeah. And he just kept going. He's like, no, that ain't for real. Come on, that ain't for real. You know what I mean? And it's so awesome. And every time I leave, you know what I mean? I'll be like, oh my God, it's like Arnold's like my good friend. That is so fucking cool.
Yeah, you've been over his house and stuff, right?
He invited me for Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? It was just me, him, his girlfriend, and his son and his nephew.
Is it really different because of his like status, or it's the same as having Thanksgiving dinner anywhere else?
Oh, I'm always on. If you know what I mean, the good thing about Arnold, he likes unwind with some wine. You know what I mean? But he makes you feel he makes me feel at home all the time. You know what I mean? You come in, it's just like coming to see you. Hey, how you doing? Are you looking sloppy? Oh, you know what I mean? It's like awesome. You shit something right away. I feel right at home. You know what I mean? You're not uptight. It's terrific. And his house is insane. He's got dogs that run around. He has a miniature horse named Whiskey, and Whiskey just. You're sitting there, I hear clip, clop, clip, clop, clip. The horse is just walking through the kitchen.
The horse is in the house?
Yes, the horse. And the horse will go up to the kitchen, and he'll go up to the counter and like take food off and just walk away. And I'd be like, There's a horse that walks. He's oh, whiskey, come on, you're eating dinner already. You know what I mean? It's just funny. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, when you have that kind of money and people are like, you can't have a horse in your house. He's like, fuck you, I can too.
Of course I can. Absolutely.
I can do whatever.
He loves animals so much that every party I've been to, he hires wranglers for animals. So Christmas party, walked out, there was all reindeer. And then if you were like of Jewish faith, he had camels. You know what I mean? And then you walked in, there was porcupines, there was eagles, there was alligators, he has penguins in his pool. There's just shit running around the whole time. It's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? It's just hilarious.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah.
What do you think something that separates him out from like all the other people that you've met before in your life? Have you noticed anything in hanging out with him where you're like, that's different?
One thing, because when you're around really successful people, and a lot of people are just kind of like, well, I'm so successful, I don't hold anyone's knowledge or anyone else's opinion as value. Like when Arnold talks to me, he always asks me for sometimes like advice or what do I think of this, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty fucking intense. This guy was the governor. If there wasn't any laws, I think he would have been a president. You know what I mean? Just super smart and level-headed and even-keeled, and so he always like even when random people
he's like
talk
always
to him,
seeking out knowledge.
yeah,
though, huh?
all the time, and
That's interesting.
It is, and he loves American history. He studies presidents. He has a wall, like probably the size of this bedroom in the bathroom together, just painted with every president on it in his house, and he studies Abraham Lincoln. You know what I mean? He wants to make himself better all the time because I go there. He plays chess to keep his mind sharp, and he just reads about the most intellectual, smartest people that I know of that he reads and studies.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
He hates Trump.
He hates Trump.
I hear the rants.
Well, you know what? It's not so much that he hates him. He just doesn't. It's hard to respect a guy sometimes when
he doesn't like
when
the
Arnold
brash.
see things. You know, Arnold's in politics. He sees how it can be. You know what I mean? You can't be so in your face about things. But that's Trump's method. Whether it works or not, you know what I mean? The country still have to find out. But but there's so many issues that he'd be like, why are you doing it this way? Don't do it that way. You know, and Arnold's a learned man. He has experience behind him. So
You train some of the most successful people in the world, successful in terms of their career and successful in terms of monetary, what they've been able to reach financially, I guess. What are some like behaviors that you've seen in some of these people that are good? And what are some things that you've seen in these people that are like, I'd rather not even really go towards that because I don't want it, because you give up a lot. Right.
Definitely. Well, of course, it's always the drive. You know, very successful people have a drive. And sometimes when you have that innate drive, you tend to neglect people in your life. You know what I mean? It just happens, whether you get so focused, whether you get diverted, et cetera. There's people that maybe were there at the beginning, but whatever, but you tend to just kind of wash them out. And I see that with other people, like, weren't you guys buddies like a year ago? We don't want to talk about that.
You probably see that a lot at Gold's.
Oh, yeah, Gold's, absolutely.
Kind of a family, even though there's probably 100,000 members or something like that.
I know, right?
It's kind of a family environment in some way.
Yeah, no, and the things I admire most is their drive. Like every successful person I ever worked with always wanted to be in the gym, either 4 or 5, 6 or 7. And I'd be like, me and my brother would be like, that guy's got so much loot. Why is he getting up so early? We used to crack up about it. Your brother would be like, why are you getting up at 5 for this guy? He's got so much loot. Driven guys are just driven all the
why
time.
Doesn't he just waltz in here at 2?
Right, totally. You know what I mean? Get up, have a massage, do this and that.
Sleep in, buddy.
Right, totally.
Get some rest.
Yes, even when they're retired, they still have the same work habits, same habits of just getting up early and attacking the day.
I think it's like a fear. Like I think you think that if you, it's the same thing with your training. If you don't get your, I saw you squatting today, and I think around the time I left, you might have had about 3 plates on there, but your legs are already big. They're already shaven. They're already jacked and tan. They don't really need, like, they probably don't need the 405. They probably don't need the next big weight on there. But you're like, no, that's how I work out.
Yeah, it is
100-pound dumbbell curls and stuff.
You're right. It is. That's a good way to put it. It is a fear.
Yeah,
it's a fear of like, if I don't do it, will I collapse? Will I fall apart? Will my image be tarnished? Yeah.
How is it? Getting older. You're 50. What?
52 now.
You're 52. Are there a lot of things that have changed from the time you were 22, like food wise and things like that? You got to watch that.
Well, the
more?
biggest thing is You know, and everyone talks about it. It's just the aches and pains and injuries.
Yeah.
Things happen for stupid reasons.
You're pretty mummied up and slingshot stuff a lot of times.
Oh my God, knees, ankles, elbows, you know what I mean? Everything.
Like, send me more stuff. I'm dying
all
over
the
here.
time. Well, and that's you know, because I always want to push myself as heavy as I can go, you know. And one of the things I hate getting diversion the subjects, like there's so many older guys, and they always tell me you don't have to train that hard anymore, and I'm like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
You're like, fuck you, I'm going to burn your house down.
Right? No, I'm
Leave
just
me alone.
I'm just perplexed by the question. I'm like, if you can, why don't you train that hard? Oh, because you'll get hurt. I mean, you get hurt crossing the street. I don't worry about that. I want to train as hard as I can until I can't train anymore. I don't want to be like sitting back like, oh, fuck, in my 50s, I really should have pushed it before I got in my 60s. You know?
You get motivated seeing a batch of like young kids coming in there
all the time,
and you see someone like, you know, bench 100-pound dumbbells for some reps, and you're like, I'm doing that next, and you
absolutely
do 20 reps instead of the 15.
I take it personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you little fucker.
This is my gym.
Totally. You don't know what I've been through, you little cocksucker. I'm going to fucking bury you. It is. I take it totally personal.
Where'd some of that competitiveness come from? Did that come from...
just growing up. You know what I mean? Growing up, it's funny when you travel around the world. You know what I mean? You go to other countries and you live in other countries and you deal with other cultures. We are such a competitive nature, especially as a young male in junior high, high school.
Right.
It's competitive. You know what I mean? And if you didn't start, you're ostracized. If you didn't, and your buddies would shit on you. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, when we were playing football, if I didn't start, he'd beat the hell out of me. You know, it just, everyone was so competitive, but the whole neighborhood was competitive. Your friends growing up were competitive, you know? And I think that competitiveness stayed with me till this day.
Did you run into any of the guys at the gym that are now out here from Massachusetts? Because there's like Tito Raymond and the Raymond Brothers. Did you know them before?
No, I didn't know them. I was older than them.
Yeah.
And but the funny thing, Tito played an all-star football team, and my coach was his coach for the all-star game.
Oh shit!
So my coaches would come out all the time. They're fun, crazy guys, and they'd be like, "Oh, this cat Tito, he's really fun. He's really fun." Then Tito finally made out here because he was a bodybuilder back east.
Yeah.
And then he came to Venice, and I was like, "Oh, my coaches were raving about you. You said you were coming out." Yeah.
Yeah, and you Peabody, Massachusetts,
Peabody,
right?
Mass.
And there's been a lot of people that have come out from there. There's been, John Cena is from Massachusetts as well. Is there something about
Jay
that?
Cutler.
Yeah, Jay Cutler.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I always describe it. People are like, oh, you fucking massholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of the smallest states, but has the biggest attitude. You know what I mean? We're just like the little stepbrother that just doesn't want to be ignored. You know? We're the Joe Pesci's of the country.
Look at the Patriots. You know, the Patriots kind of embrace that the way the city,
everyone.
way the city is, right?
Yeah, it is. It's usually us against everybody.
You go back there here and there?
Oh yeah, I was just back there a couple of weeks ago, 4th of July.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's good. My mom and dad, my dad's still, he's still fit. He walks now. He's late 70s.
He used to lift?
Oh yeah, he was a big son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That's how I got in training. He had weights down in a cellar in our basement.
That's great.
Yeah, my dad had a great story. He grew up in the projects of Revere. Revere is a city just north of Boston. And he didn't have a dad, but my grandmother was this fiery redhead, typical Irish lady that this big mafia boss dated. You know what I mean? It's like my grandmother was his side piece.
Yeah.
So he kind of adopted my dad as his son. So my dad grew up in this crazy mafia lifestyle. You know what I mean? Just he has stories upon stories. It's just unbelievable. And where we grew up in a triple decker right off the freeway in Revere, right from the airport. You know what I mean? So there was 2 empty units, and it was me, my 2 brothers, my mom and dad. We had the top floor of this ratty old house, and underneath was just all gangsters.
Shit.
And when we were kids, you know what I mean? You go to the roof.
Recognize any of this stuff? Or you're too young?
No, yeah, no, I didn't get it. You know what I mean? My brothers were 4 or 5 years older, so they had, you know what I mean? They had a blast. You know what I mean? Right. They're riding in Cadillacs at 7 and 8. You know what I mean? It was just wild. But underneath were 2 empty units.
Insane.
Yeah, there were 2 empty units, but they would just use them to book bets. So it was nothing but all phones lined up. This is, of course, way before the internet and everything. So you had a phone. You had to call New York. You had to call Sarasota. Right. You had to call all these racetracks. And what we would do from where we lived, we could see the results from the horse track. There was the Wonderland dog track and Suffolk Downs horse track. So all the gangsters were upstairs. We'd run down, tell them who all won. They'd call everywhere. And back then it was, you'd have to call an operator, connect me to such and such, Chicago, such and such. So the feds
are involved.
Totally. So the feds would get hold of it. They'd be like, all right, There's this one little house in Revere, Mass that had 900 calls around the world, so they'd bust the house.
Yeah.
But of course, all the gangsters were tipped off. They were gone. You know,
Yeah.
the first floor was nothing but empty pens, you know, papers and pencils. Second floor, nothing. Then they try and raid our house. Of course, my dad was probably like your dad, had 100 jobs, working all the time.
Yeah.
My mother answered the door with me and my diapers, my 2 little brothers running around. She'd be like, "What are you gonna do? Arrest me? I got fucking kids. Get out of here." We shut the door on them, and they could never, you know what I mean? So nothing could ever be found, and yeah, it was crazy, fun, super crazy childhood.
That does sound crazy.
Yeah.
Did your dad teach you how to lift?
Absolutely, yeah. He was, and this was my love for wrestling happened because when all the wrestlers would come in town, my dad actually, you know, all the gangsters, my dad blew out walls in his basement and everything, so he had like a gym before like gyms were popular. So we had all these old time wrestlers like Bull Sasso, all these other big name wrestlers show up, you know. So my dad always trained with these guys, and he just loved He just loved weightlifting. And so when we moved out of the projects, got a house in Peabody, the first thing he did, he made our basement just a gym.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and even still, like sometime the wrestlers would come in town, you know what I mean? Be like, go work with your dad, you know, like Killer Kowalski. I mean, years ago, you know, all these old names coming in. So and then of course, you know, they would all tied in with the mob, and like we were kids, we go to the matches. You know, that was the greatest thing ever. You just go to the matches and just love wrestling as a kid, and you're ringside, and the wrestlers knew you through your dad and your affiliations, but they'd come and chase you and you know, want to kill you.
Wrestling is like such a huge thing when you're a kid.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like
especially in the East Coast. Like out here, I think there's so many. I mean, look at you. You can go out, you surf, you're on the beach all day, but
there's a lot of things.
But we're indoors from October to March. I mean, you're right. There's nothing to do, and you got school. So Saturday and Sunday are off. Saturday I have Saturday night wrestling. Sunday all Sunday wrestling.
It's an interesting living on the East Coast. You know, being indoors for that long.
Oh yeah,
right? It's dark. It's rainy. It's snowing. It's shitty. And then everyone gets all fired up. They're like, "Oh, here's the summer," but everyone's a miserable bastard then too. It's so humid.
It's so hot. Oh, I can't wait for winter.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
never happy.
Yeah, we're dying. And the only time you're
happy. But that's
happy,
what you appreciate about East Coast people, because they're always fucking miserable, and they'll let you know.
They're always pissed.
Yep.
I went back not too long ago. I went to a deli, and I just kind of forgot just how fast everything is and how it all works. And almost like the soup Nazi in Seinfeld.
Oh, sure.
I went to order something, but I hesitated. I was like, I want the, I don't know. And the guy was like, next. And he went right past me. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, I was
awesome.
like,
ruthless.
I was like,
I did the same thing when I went back.
I deserved it. I deserved it.
Even better, I went back. This is Brothers Deli, all these crazy Greeks. I'm like, I want an egg white omelet. He's like, what do you mean egg white omelet?
Yeah, what the
I'm like, I want an egg white omelet. He goes, what do we do with the yolk? I'm saying, I don't want the yolk. He's, no, you eat the yolk. I'm like, I don't want the yolk. He's, no, you eat the yolk. It's good for you. I'm like, no, it's all fat. It's cholesterol. You guys eat the yolk. That's why you're all fat. Like, oh, no, you eat the yolk. And I'm like, I want an egg white omelet. He's like, no egg white omelet. He cracks it, puts the yolk in, blanks it up, and he served it to me. No matter what I wanted, he wasn't changing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I just love that attitude. It's fucking hilarious. It kills me. It's even funnier. So,
did you just eat it?
Oh, I had to.
Like,
I had to. And they're cracking up. He's like, yeah, we told you to eat the yolk. I'm like, of course you told me, because you didn't cook the egg whites. It's just that gruff East Coast attitude. Yeah, I went to the Red Sox with my girlfriend. She's a little younger, you know. So out in California, you always see older guys with young chicks. It's just how it is. So I go to the ticket, give the guy my ticket. He's like, I love daddy-daughter day at the park. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
He didn't care.
No, he didn't give a shit. He just totally crushed me.
He didn't care if it started a fight. He was just going all in.
Yeah, totally.
When somebody says something that funny, though.
Oh, I had to laugh. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and then also it's like, it's kind of a pat on the back.
Yeah, right. I know.
Good for you.
Good for me.
You got a younger lady, right? So when you were, do you remember what it was like when you lifted in that cellar? Do you remember kind of like the setup? Did you guys have good weights? Did you have like
absolutely?
Olympic weights, or is it like
my dad waited on the train for Weider weights? We had real cast iron metal plates. They were awesome.
How did he know?
I know. Yeah, I know. Right?
All this stuff?
Yeah. Well, he just because
did you have the magazines around? And stuff?
Oh, totally. Absolutely, yeah. Weider. It was just called Muscle back then. It wasn't Muscle and Fitness. It wasn't Flex. It was just Muscle. Yeah, and he had all the weights, and he put mirrors on the walls.
That's great.
And of course, when he did that, every kid in the neighborhood wanted to show up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we had like a bodybuilding club. You know.
People forget how valuable the mirror is.
Oh, totally.
Like a lot of guys are, power lifters especially, they'll be like, oh, but when you can actually watch yourself, and it's a lot more accurate than a video. You ever
Absolutely.
notice on a video when you go and you see yourself moving around some of these heavy dumbbells,
Yeah.
you don't see the jerkiness, you don't see
Right.
yourself shaking and all this crap.
Yeah.
But if you can watch yourself, you're like, oh my God, I'm pushing totally with my left leg and not pushing with my right.
That's a good point. Yeah, you've been powerlifting for years. Yeah, the power of the mirror.
Yeah, powerlifters, they very rarely.
Because every time they look in the mirror, they shatter.
Yeah, because they're too fat. Yeah, they don't want to look at it. How'd you build up the quads? How'd you build up these legs?
You know, my dad for my 15th birthday, he bought me squat racks. You know what I mean? And
That's great.
Totally. He was.
I can picture you crying like, oh,
the greatest present ever. I can't believe it.
He was lifting belt.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
God.
Yeah, of course. I mean, whenever I made money for summer jobs, I'd buy something. You know what I mean? I'd buy gym equipment. I was the first kid in football to buy a helmet. You know what I mean? Back then, they always had those Rydell suspension shit things.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, bike came out. These bike helmets. I'm like, oh my God. I watched like Alabama on Saturday mornings. They had these bike helmets with the 2 straps. I'm like, I got to find one. So I went to this sporting goods store. Like, I don't even know where the hell it was. Medford or Boston or South Boston or something. You know what I mean? Saved up all my money. And
Yeah.
then I showed up for school year and it was a different color. And the coach was like, the fuck are you wearing? I go, it's a bike helmet. Get used to it. He's like, all right, it's cool.
My brother was all into that. He's all into like customizing the mask and
Yeah,
everything.
right.
And he had the visor on
Yeah.
there. Remember the teams that you'd go against and they all had that big neck roll?
Oh, yeah.
And they had the pads over top of, or they had their jersey over top of the neck roll.
Like-
And everyone just looked so
Looked
jacked.
like Tom Rath, remember him from the 49ers?
Yeah. And then everybody had the sleeves all
cut up
like
and tied up.
rolled up and
Absolutely.
everything. Back when you were playing, some of the guys were probably doing almost like the half shirt
Oh,
deal.
that was my high school. We had the half shirts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
showing off the stomach, and then you got the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
It makes you look like a house.
Totally. And you were so sexy.
Starting lifting that early, you must have wrecked people in football. You must have been pretty good.
Yeah. Not trying to toot my own horn. I was one of the best players in Massachusetts in 1983. So that was pretty
Who was
cool.
better, you or Tito Raymond, according to your coach? What do you think?
I was way better. I actually, what was I say? Yeah, no, it was.
You were running back, right?
I was a tailback and linebacker. So in Massachusetts, in high school, they have 2 big all-star games. They have the Shriners, which every state, they probably had one in New York.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I played in the Shriners game, and on our team in that year there was this kid, Jamie Morris, who started at Michigan. There was
Did Jamie
Darren-
Morris play for the Giants?
that was his brother.
Oh,
Jamie
okay.
Morris did play in the pros, so I think he went to Chicago. But
Oh.
his brother was Joe
Yeah,
Morris, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Morris, yeah.
And then I had Darren Flutie, Doug Flutie's brother. So Darren Flutie actually, and he played in the NFL. I mean, there was studs. We had so many good players in my year, and I ended up playing linebacker. So here, high school, I'm like what 5'7", 175, which is kind of pretty good for a high school kid.
Right, yeah.
But here I'm playing linebacker against all these fucking studs from around the state. And I actually had a pretty spectacular game.
Yeah. What did you like better, offense or defense?
I love it's both. You know what I mean? Playing both was the rewards of was like the fruits of your labor.
It's fun
to
to be able to
kill
like
someone-
juke somebody, and
Yeah.
it's also fun to just be able to
Yeah,
just
to kill someone was awesome, but to score was pretty fucking cool. Yeah. So
Right.
you get the best of both worlds.
And then did you end up playing in college and stuff too?
Yeah, I had a scholarship. I played in University of New Hampshire, and college was like,
Did you run into Dwayne Gordon at all? Have I ever talked
Yeah.
to you about him?
yeah, Dwayne. He was incoming freshman when I was leaving.
Yeah, Dwayne Gordon. He
Dwayne
played
Saab,
football with
yeah.
Mad Dog,
Right.
and they had a championship team when my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brother
They were
played.
awesome. He was
And-
awesome too.
Well, Dwayne was a tailback, and he was like 235,
Yeah,
and my
just a
brother was
beast.
the fullback, and he was 255. They just ran the ball up the middle,
Oh,
and
they had
no one ever touched these
That's
guys.
awesome.
They beat the crap out of people. It was brutal. It was brutal to watch. I mean, you watch the other team, it's like kind of almost cringing because you're like, this team's gonna get fucked up.
I know, huh?
It would just
Great times.
They would just steamroll them. So you're at the University of New Hampshire.
University of New Hampshire, and my college career, I'll be honest with you, it sucked. I was redshirt a freshman.
Transition's hard for many reasons.
Yeah, well, I just had one series of mishap after another. So your first year, the coach was like, hey, we're just going to redshirt you. You know what I mean? You're 170. We want you playing 190. I'm like, I get it. So you don't play. You dress, but you don't play, and you get a fifth-year senior. Then, so it starts out, I start as my redshirt freshman year. I'm down in Virginia, and I have this ridiculous injury. My urethra tube collapse.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I can't go to the bathroom or nothing. So they rushed me out of there. I had to fly home, and
Was that from football?
they said I couldn't. I mean, the day before we're on the turf in Virginia, and it's in August. It was like 107 on the turf, and it might have been like a dehydration thing
Burnt
that
your
might.
dick on the turf.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. It's one of these things that just you know what I mean? They don't know if it was a faulty
Yeah.
tube I had or the heat caused it. You know what I mean? So it just sucked. So he missed it there, miss a year, come back. Next year, I'm like, all right, work. You get work. We have spring football. I went to workouts, spring football, summer workouts, work. Try and get a start. Finally get my job back. Right before the start, we're in pads. We're in just helmets and sweatsuits.
Right.
First game of the season. I'm just going for a pad, and we had this linebacker who ended up playing. Scott Curtis ended up playing for the NFL for the Broncos. Stud. Fucking creams me. Just doesn't even see me by accident. You know what I mean? Hits me. You know, my shoulder pops out, my clavicle shatters, done again, watch the end. I was like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Same thing, miss a year, blah, blah, blah. Come back. Summer work in, about to start again, my technically junior year. Get shot in the knee, my knee blows up, had to wear a knee brace, nothing happens. I end up playing like a handful of games. Then came like my redshirt senior year. And by then I was just, and the coach and I didn't like the coach. You know what I mean? It's one of these things, like you always hear. I was so fortunate. My high school coach loved the sport and really cared for you. And college was a business. It was the first time you learn about business. I mean, they're paying you to be there. They're paying for everything. You're just a fucking cog in the machine. If you don't work, you're garbage. So for 3 years, I didn't perform. So my fourth year, you know what I mean? He's just, he would sit there and actually smoke cigarettes on the field and blow smoke in my face.
Jesus.
He'd be like,
so you didn't really have an opportunity to like get like mentored enough, maybe to grow into it, right?
Right, and he took the, you know what I mean. So my technically my redshirt year when I could have came back and played, I was just one of those. I always said I'm done. He's like, what do you mean done? I was like, what? I mean, don't give me this coaching routine spiel about how I'm important to the team. I go, for 3 years you shit on me. I mean, 4 years you shit on me. You made me feel terrible. You smoke cigarettes in my face. You belittle me any chance you get. And now all of a sudden I'm going to come back and help your team win. I'm like, I'm graduating. I wish you the best. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those lessons are really valuable. You know?
And to do this at, you know what I mean? I mean, you go from high school where you're accolades, you're all-stars, you're people, you know what I mean? You're in the paper, you're on the local
news. I'm going to the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm going to play pro football.
Totally. That's what you're thinking, you know what I mean? And people respected you to go to this and you're just humiliated, degraded, and it was so hard, you know what I mean?
It's really interesting because I think that, I mean, it sounds to me like you were outstanding in high school, and there's a lot of people that are probably a lot less than that, and they think the same way. Yeah. They get excited too, and they think, man, maybe I got an opportunity for like a scholarship, and they don't train, they don't do anything in the off season. They're always out of shape, and they're just delusional.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll go to a JC, and then maybe something will happen. And
that's so crazy.
What's interesting though is like with my wife, she's always had really good perspective on it, but I think it's because of her sport.
Yeah.
You know, she was a swimmer. She dominated in high school. She was on a national team, and she did all kinds of crazy things. She broke all kinds of records.
That's awesome.
Did in the newspaper all the time. She got a full ride to the University of Kansas. She was the captain of the team and stuff. But I think just because that sport, there's not really a profession. There's the Olympics, right?
Right.
But I think she always just kind of thought, well, the Olympics, like that's insanely competitive, and even if I put everything into it, there's just it's too slight of a chance for me to go ahead and put everything into it and to put everything else on hold,
right?
You know, so she kind of made the decision of like, I'm just gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna go to school for free.
Yeah. And
I always thought, man, like that's a good perspective, because as a kid I was like, I want to play pro football. Like I loved football. I know, you know, almost not as so much anymore because there's so many players and stuff, and it's more confusing. They change teams more and stuff. But I knew every player on every team.
Oh, of course,
you know, I had every football card, all that shit. But I think it's important to grow up with dreams. It's also important for those dreams to sometimes get shattered, and definitely. For those dreams for you to kind of go, well, you know, that guy over there, he's faster than me. That guy over there, he jumps higher than me. That guy over there is 3 inches taller than me. I should probably go do something else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a healthy realization, but I don't think as many kids today are getting that, because the team sport thing is not as prevalent. You just don't see it as much anymore.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any kids, so it's very hard for me to, to comment. But I just seeing things from the side. You know what I mean? I'm not a fan of everyone gets a trophy. I'm a fan of hard work. Reward the person who works the hardest.
Right.
And I think that's what's missing.
Yeah, just keeping it having the accolades match up with what you actually did.
Yeah,
right?
you've earned this. You know what I mean? The greatest generation was the World War II generation. They earned it.
Well, a lot of those guys ended up playing pro football too.
Oh,
And like what a crazy era that was in football, because a lot of those guys they had PTSD. I'm sure they probably didn't even know it, and they were also drinking all the time and playing pro football.
yeah, totally. They were beating the hell out of everybody.
So, kind of what transitioned from that point, from you being in college? And
You know what? It was a self-realization. Like I was, of course you're sad and frustrated. I'm like, wow, I'm done. You know what I mean? This is something I played when I started playing youth football at 9 years old, and now I'm 22. And I was like, not even, probably 21. Yeah, 21, 22. I'm like, wow, that sucked, but fuck it. You know what I mean? It was just, it's a lesson. It's like, and it's a chance for you now. Okay, grow up. Right. Now you got to realize what do you want to do and how are you going to go about achieving your goals in life. So it sucked walking away. But the funny thing, every time I was like the Godfather. Every time I walked away, they pulled me back in. I stepped away, and then I'm out here in California just goofing off, and my friend calls. He's like,
just came out on vacation or something?
Yeah, I was actually teaching, and they had cutbacks. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go take some time off. So my friend calls. He's like, the NFL, this is probably 1980, 88 or something, or 89 or 90, I can't even remember. Long time ago. But the NFL one time started a minor league system because the college started, I can't even remember the prop, it might have been like Prop 48. You had to have such a high SAT score to get in college. They were like, and when they enacted this principle, you had hundreds of athletes not going to college.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the NFL is like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? How do we get these guys? He goes, we'll start something like baseball.
That's insane.
Yeah, he goes, we'll start something like baseball. That. Yeah. On my team remember Eric Swan?
Yeah.
He was on my team. We
played for the Cardinals.
Yeah, he was all pro for like 9 years or something.
That guy was an animal.
Stud. You know what I mean? Big. Yeah, amazing. And he was 18 years old, so the NFL was geared for someone like him. So we were the Patriots farm team, the Bay State Titans, and he was on it. And there was some of these guys were so talented, but there were some of these guys were such fuck-ups. It was unbelievable. You know what I mean? It was me and my buddy Mike Power, who you know.
Yeah.
We were like the only two white guys, We would crack up. We go to games. We get all these guys from Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas. You know what I mean? They were so deep south and everything, and they were insane, They'd go in the huddle, and we'd have plays, and they'd be like, Mike Power, fuck you. This ain't the play. And this other receiver's like, I'm going deep. Throw me the ball. And Mike be like, well, he's like, I don't care. There's scouts here from Dallas. I saw the guy from Miami. I'm going deep, throw the ball. So we go to the game, and I just start crack up, and I would get killed. Because receivers would never block. You know what I mean? They do screen pass. My helmet would get popped off. I was getting destroyed out there, And we would crack up. Me and Mike would be like, we'd get killed. We go to the games. Our linemen would be drunk. We'd have to go pick up our linemen.
Mike was a quarterback, right?
Yeah. He got slaughtered too. You know what I mean? We kept winning, and we didn't want to win. It came down to, all right, if we win this one game, we're going to fly to play like a championship in like Seattle. But what's it like at Tacoma? So you had to fly to Seattle, take like a 13-hour bus ride. We heard what we had to do, and it was just terrible. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh my God, we got to do this. We're going to travel. It's going to be awful. So Mike Power, surprisingly, he throws a ball. And we're down a point. We go to kick the extra point to go in overtime against some team from Hershey, Pennsylvania, whatever. So I'm just like, oh, fuck, I don't want to travel with this wind. All of a sudden, Mike just looks at every guy. She's like, I'll hold for the PAT. He gets the ball hiked to him. Mike lets the ball go flying through his hands. We lose, and everyone on the team carried Mike off the field.
Oh, that's great.
It was unbelievable. And Sugar Bear Hamilton was the coach. He's just cracking up. He's like, motherfuckers, I knew you didn't want to take that bus ride. It was a wild, crazy time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Kicking around the minor leagues.
Throwing a game on purpose.
Totally. Oh, they had to. There was so many characters, so many lunatics.
So you're out here in Cali, and then you're just trying to think, like, did you stay here, or did you go back? Or?
Yeah, well, after that, no, I figured I'll stay here. I'm like, well, and my brother was getting transferred out here. So I'm like, I'll just, I'll get some bartending gigs. I'll just
Your brother's a firefighter, right?
No, DEA.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
he's federal agent. Yeah, another million great stories with him. That's for another show. Yeah, so I just came out here and bartending, and I just was training at this Gold's Gym in Redondo Beach, and it was open 24 hours. And I would go after my after work, like 2, 3 in the morning. And every once in a while, the owner was a young guy. He'd be there. So I checked in one day, and I'm just training. It's like only me in the gym, and the owner's there, and he's fighting with his manager. He's yelling at his manager's like, I got you on film. You fucking robbed from me. I trained this. And the guy's just like, I didn't rob. He's like, I was going to pay, but I just didn't, they're arguing. So I'm right there. I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, no, they're about to come to blows, So I'm standing between them. So the manager's like, you never find anyone to run this gym better than me anyways. And the owner's, he goes, this guy could do a way better job. He's here. He cares. He doesn't even know me could run this gym. And he looks at me, he goes, could you run this gym? I said, absolutely. I said, I'm college educated. I've been in so many war zones. This is no problem. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow. The manager's like, well, fuck you then. I'm like, okay, you're the first guy I threw out of my gym. Yeah, that's how my Gold's Gym's career started.
You started at the Redondo Golds?
Started at the Redondo Golds. And,
I didn't know that. Yeah, I used to train there.
Yeah, it was the coolest gym. You know what I mean? It was funny. Like the biggest problem, some girls came in and be like, oh, I'm too sunburned. Can you put oil on the machine so I don't get, you know what I mean? Okay, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, there was like never any problems. Then I go to Gold's Venice, because I got to know the owners and they invited me up for an interview. Like, we want you to run the big gym. I'm like, wow, how cool. And it was funny, but I went the week before just to feel out. I probably told you these stories, I feel out what it was like.
Yeah.
So I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a day pass. And the guys at the desk, you know what I mean? They didn't give a fuck about, you know what I mean, the gym at all. They'd be like, turn around. I'd be like, what? Turn around. All right, we got to bring you back up. Your calves are good. Your legs are pretty solid. Work on the hamstrings. Let me see the front. He starts critiquing my whole physique. I'm like, I just want to work out for a day. They're like,
was it Tom File?
No, it wasn't even Tom yet. Tom came later, but but Tom knew all those guys, and they would the guy just put his gym bag on the counter. He's like, this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need. I got all the shots, I get everything. I get pins right here, and I'm like, I just want to fucking work out for a day. You know what I mean? He just broke me down. He tried to sell me every drug imaginable. I'm like, maybe I'll check in on you tomorrow. So I made a note. I said, oh, fuck, I got to find that guy. Next day, come in as another guy. I just want a day pass. He's like, it's like $20. He goes, give me $10. No one care. I go, do I get a receipt? He's like, nah. I gave him $10. The guy just put it right in his pocket. I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to fire that guy. I gave her the point, like, these guys would sell anything. One guy's just walking out. What do you need? I get some guns. Some guy left some guns. You need some guns? You going to live in Venice? You probably need a gun. I'll get you a gun. I'm like, no, I just wanted a day pass.
I'm trying to exercise.
Yeah. That was
for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, that's the last thing.
Is that against the law in this place?
Oh, totally. Well, back then, there wasn't even, people just walked in. There was like no check-in really.
Right.
The system was so archaic back then. It was like you put your counter on. If you want to pay whatever. If you didn't, you bought drugs from these guys. No one, it was the Wild West.
So then you just started managing that. You started managing Golds.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I was like, I told the guys, I told Pete Gromkowski and the owner was Tim Kimber, I'm like, I got to fire your whole front desk. He's like, do you have other guys who will do it? And I said, you know what? I made some pretty good friends down in Redondo. I'll see if they're open. So I did. I'm like, hey, thanks for showing up your fight. Thanks for showing up your fight. Even Tom, I had to fire Tom.
Jesus.
Yeah. Tom was crazy. Tom left me threatening notes. He left on my answer machine. He left. He's like, I'm going to slowly cut off your head. Slowly. He gave this long diatribe of how he's going to chop my head off.
And he never did it.
Never did it.
What a pussy.
I know. I said, man of your word.
He could have
and I love Tom, too. That was the funniest thing. I hated having to fire him, but he was so crazy.
Yeah, he's got too much shit going on. He robbed a bank and this whole weird thing or whatever he did. I don't even know. He was
a bank robber.
I don't remember exactly what he told some of the story on the podcast, and it was just wild. It was one crazy story after another.
Oh yeah, he was insane.
And then he told me crazier stories after.
Well, and the problem with Tom, he's super bright. He's like Mensa certified.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He is very smart.
He's incredible. Like he almost outsmarted our computer system of how to check people in and how to get money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'd be like, oh man, we got to make a quota this week. All of a sudden, he goes, I made it. How the fuck did you make it? You only been here. I check his numbers. I'm like, I don't know how you beat this computer, Tom File, but you beat it.
Yeah, I don't know what you did here.
Yeah, but he was great to have. Everyone loved him. You know what I mean? Tom was so lovable. That's why I hated booting him. I said, you're such a fucking good guy. Even if you want to cut my head off, you're such a good guy.
He texts me all the time because he trains at Super Training here and there. Like he doesn't come in that much, but he lives in Northern California.
Yeah,
and he'll pop in and out of Super Training. He actually did a meet not too long ago, and he deadlifted
the Masters. Right. He did unbelievable. He was a strong son of a bitch.
66 or something. But back when he was at the gym, I mean, he was squatting 800 pounds. I think
he won. He won the famous neck contest.
Yeah, I remember the picture of his neck. It was that was right around the time I first came out here.
Okay, yeah. Don Ross had an article. It was in Flex magazine. He always had like Gold's Gyms happening. And he just went off one day. He's like, I saw Flex Whaler. I saw all these bodybuilders. No one trains their neck. I'm putting up a reward for the best neck competition.
You know you're serious. If you have a neck harness,
oh, I know.
You've gone way too far.
And he would do it all day. He would be at the desk. Welcome to Gold's. Welcome to Gold's. You know what I mean? He'd be training his neck all day. And then after, it was like, it was only like a 6-week contest. And no one really did it because people just train their neck a little bit, because it'd be funny. But Tom Platz shows up with his neck like 3 feet wide.
Looked like he swallowed a Frisbee or something, right?
It was awesome. It was like, you are so mental. It's awesome.
What are some of the crazier things you've seen happen in there? Because there's some really just...
Oh, off the wall.
There's some wild people in there.
Yeah, Jesus. I can't even think.
When you first started in there, was there like a lot of trainers and stuff? I kind of see quite a bit of trainers and things like that in there now.
Well, back then, and anyone can show up. Like I said, there was no rules, no regulations, no bylaws. You could just show up and be like, hey, I'm a trainer. I'm going to bring 20 people to train. I'd be like, okay.
It didn't matter about insurance or
nothing. You don't
that
have
gym is still a little bit like that, though, because it's still like a separate entity of like Gold's corporate or something, right?
Well, right now, Gold's has their own staff, but as an independent trainer, you have to provide insurance, you have to provide your certification, you have to provide CPR certification. These are all things that I enacted. I'm like, and everyone wanted to kill me again. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if you're going to be a trainer, to make this legitimate, you have to pay the gym a fee.
Right.
Any business, if you're a businessman, you have to pay a business expense.
Right.
You can't just say I'm a trainer and have zero overhead.
Yeah, even if someone came in your office and used your computer every day, if they're going to take up time and space, they got to give you some sort of money,
expense.
Right?
So it was such a minimal fee, but everyone, they went through the fucking roof. There was over like 300 people there, and these are guys that were they were all wanted. A lot of them were in the entertainment business. Right. Instead of bartending and waitering, they'd be trained. So I have a client, they do auditions, come back and have their client do the auditions, do their acting school. So I'd say like 60 to 65% of the people, the trainers at the time, were all in the entertainment business. So I told them, I said, hey, you guys are going to have to pay a rental fee to the gym to conduct your business there. They went through the roof. And I was like, oh, fuck you, I can't afford that, blah, blah, blah. What I do? I'm like, then you're technically not a trainer. Your focus is elsewhere. This is Gold's Gym. I want people who really want to emphasize training and have this as the best gym in the world. So when you come in, you'd be like, okay, I can learn from that guy because that guy obviously knows what he's doing. He takes it seriously, and look who he's working with. Instead of someone like, I'm going to kind of dilly-dally with this person, but I'll be out in 15 minutes because I'm in addition.
I remember when I'd come out here for like, sometimes a week or two at a time before I've officially kind of moved out to California from New York. And when I'd go to the gym, my brother was like, he's like, it'll work out. Like, I'll talk to Mike or whatever. And he'd talk to you, and then you'd let me in. Or whatever, or you guys would give me a pass, or it'd be like some really inexpensive thing. I noticed that's a huge difference from that gym versus a lot of other corporate gyms where they're like really just they're just up your ass, even if you're just there for a day or two. They got these standards and they don't only follow that. But at Gold's Gym, it's always been like, if you're somebody or know somebody, it's less hassle. Yeah. And I always thought that made the gym special, though, because there's some special people in there. I mean, there's some really successful people in there. There's professional basketball, hockey, football.
And there's so many people that you don't even know. And that was the whole thing. Yeah. When I started running, Tim Kimber was he was one of the owners, and he was the coolest guy, and he was so level-headed. And he told me earlier, I said, well, this guy's not paying. This guy's really not paying. He said, Mike, we're Gold's Gym. We're here to help people out. We're not out to be an Equinox. We're not out to charge $5 a towel. We're not out to charge for parking. We're not out to charge for class. We're Gold's Gym. We're a fun neighborhood gym, and we're here to help people. And boy, that really resonated with me. Oh my God, wow, that's fucking cool. The money will come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt like I was letting in deadbeat after deadbeat. Then I find out, oh, that guy, that old guy, he was the tour manager for Zeppelin. Oh, that's fucking cool. You know what I mean? That's pretty wild. That's someone like when he does his documentary on PBS, he wears a Gold's Gym T-shirt. Oh, that guy was, you know what I mean? There was so many people.
Or it hooks you up with tickets or whatever.
But it was, there was so many people that you had no idea who they really were until you hear about them. I'm like, oh, that guy's like legitimately a megastar in certain realms, And Gold's Gym, and these guys would all migrate to Gold's Gym, and they talk about Gold's Gym. And it's funny, I talk about like someone was talking about you should do a history of Gold's Gym because it's pretty wild. Because years ago, Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. would train together. You know what I mean? Like Geez, I wonder if those two ever got together, if they kind of collaborate on a movie, what it would be.
Right.
And then we're looking at what, a $10 billion Marvel Universe franchise
Yeah.
that probably originated right in Gold's Gym. Because
Oh,
those
that's
two guys
crazy.
started training together, and this is God's honest truth. They started training together because I love Robert Downey Jr. He was there all the time, and Jon Favreau was just off Swingers, you know what I mean? A couple other movies, but he was still he wasn't really a big name, you know? So I see him training together, and I saw Robert Downey Jr. because I'm a nerd. I saw him at the comic store buying all this Iron Man shit. And I just looked at him, I said, from Gold's Gym to the comics boy, you're such a fucking nerd. And he just started laughing. And I didn't think, these guys were doing all this strategy planning, and who would imagine? Yeah,
That was like 10 years ago or
oh,
something?
way more than 10 years ago.
Oh.
This had to be mid-90s.
He was buying Iron Man stuff.
Iron Man stuff.
That's amazing.
Amazing. And that was they probably just started opening dialogue, and they probably didn't do the movie probably 10 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it takes a long time to figure it all out.
Yeah, especially something like that. I mean, because those movies, Marvel does it right. I mean, every movie is a setup for another movie.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I mean?
you've seen my brother in there for 20 years or so. My brother went to film school at USC, and then one of the guys he went to film school with, he didn't communicate with him after he was out of school for a while. Then he just ran into him at Gold's Gym, and they're on a treadmill, and they start talking, and they're going back and forth. My brother's telling him about Bigger, Stronger, Faster, but my brother didn't know, what it was going to be called, what it was going to be about. He's like, it's got to be like a movie that involves this gym and involves this culture, and they just started talking through it. Long story short, this guy, Alex Bono, ends up, communicating with Chris on a weekly basis at Gold's Gym, where they're talking about the beginning phases. Now, Alex is not like a lifter, so he didn't really understand a lot of it, but being at Gold's and seeing all these people, he started to understand it more. And then my brother, my brother was taking him through like a workout and stuff, and he's like, yeah, it does feel good. I feel better. I like feeling stronger. Like, this is cool. Yeah. He's like, I kind of see the draw. I see the attraction to it. And Chris just mentions, like, in the middle of a sentence, he's like, yeah, it's a lot of these guys, they use stuff and to get bigger and stronger and stuff like that. And, it's always such a controversy in sports, but no one cares about what these guys do.
Right.
And he goes, but it is illegal, so somebody cares about what your brother might care about what they do, right?
But actually, not really.
Right.
Because remember, he was interviewed, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did the whole thing with the DA. It's like, DA don't give a fuck about stuff.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're concentrating on more harmful things, I guess.
Absolutely.
But it was just really interesting. My brother just blurts it out, and he's like, both my brothers, they take stuff. And then Alex was like, he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they're on stuff right now. He goes, well, that's the movie. And that happened right at Gold's Gym, right by the bench press. The bench presses are set up in the same spot that they were, 15 years ago or whatever.
I know, huh?
A lot of that stuff goes down in there, and you see, producers, and you see all these different executives, and
I call it the fit Hollywood's version of a golf course. Like, so many deals are made on golf courses, but so many people don't like to golf anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got all these executives, these studio heads, agents, actors, and they're just there. It's like, let's grab a workout and tell me what you're working on and talk about projects.
You went from running Gold's Gym to more into personal training, and you're able to set your own schedule and kind of set your own hours and do your own things, set your own prices and things like that. And you've trained a lot of celebrities and a lot of successful people. Is there a side of you that wants to get back into maybe like a more business side of things rather than training people, or are you already involved in some things like that?
Yeah, well, I finally, you know what I mean? I'm a dinosaur with this social media, and I look at you and I'm like, I'm so impressed and proud of everything you've accomplished.
Thank you.
I really am.
Appreciate
I mean, if you guys don't know, he was helping me beat up little kids in our camp 30 years ago.
Yeah,
you know
a football camp. Yep.
Yeah, you know
I
what I
drag
mean?
the sled out there, and I drag a bunch of plates out
Yeah,
there.
and I was like, oh, this guy's into it. That's awesome. And of course, our follow-up on that whole thing just sucked. Me and Mike were just Mike was just a knucklehead. You know what I mean? It's something that could have grew to something.
Hey, I just remember we got to eat at Rocky Cola Cafe. We got to eat some pancakes, and I was excited about that.
Absolutely. We got 20 bucks and all the pancakes you could eat. Yeah. So, my business sense has always been lax, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, all right, fuck it, I can train. I'll always have a steady business. I can get to focus on myself. And for me, whatever I do, I always make myself a priority. Like, all right, I will never work 40 hours a day. I will never, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
training, cardio, rest is crucial to me.
And just have a life.
Yeah, and to have a life. So, but now the business, I'm learning more about the business end. I'm Kayvon, who's helped you with, super good guy. I'm going to be doing I hooked up with Rayhan.
Cool.
So we're gonna you know what I mean, I'm getting online. I'm doing programs. I got all these other things happening next month in 2 weeks. Actually, I'm going to Bill Phillips. He's doing a transformation camp. I'm going out to help him run his camp. I did a muscle camp early this year. So yeah, I got so many other projects are pending, and it's going to be cool. But as to the other side, like when you said you still see me open the gates, I still have a passion for that gym.
Right.
And now Gold's Gym is up for sale. That I've actually I even talked to Arnold about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just wondering if whoever buys it, because I couldn't, the people. You never.
I thought
know.
the building was already bought, maybe by Google.
Well,
or something?
Google owns the property. And that's contingent. But when you buy the Gold's Gym brand, you get the licensing rights for over 300 gyms. I think it is now. But then you get Pasadena, Long Beach, in Venice. They're comprised. They're thrown in the deal. So I was just lucky.
That's got to be an insane amount of money.
Yeah, they're looking like $400 or $500 million for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, someone will buy it, obviously.
Yeah.
Whether it goes for less or more, who knows? Probably less. Because
sometimes some of these things, I mean, they need to be like, they have like movie theaters, and they got things in Hollywood, and they got things around that need to be protected.
Yeah.
And you hope that something like that gets protected.
Oh, absolutely.
You really do. Like, it's
here's the coolest part: when Google was first built, and they opened up they bought
like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah,
maybe
it was probably about 10 years, or maybe less. But they bought
digital
2
domain
square blocks.
or whatever was there before.
They bought everything. So they're having a grand opening. And I was there. They invited the mayor, the Michael Bonin, the local councilman, the Venice Chamber, the Venice Historical Society. I was there for Gold's Gym and all the Google reps. So we're just sitting there. We're going to talk about the future, what Google's going to do with the neighborhood, So everyone's just introducing themselves. And this old gentleman I've never seen before in my life, old guy, had this beard, and he just looks at the Google guys. He's like, "You're not fucking with Gold's Gym." And I'm like, "Whoa." And the guy's like, "Excuse me."
I'm behind this guy.
Yeah, totally. He's like, "What?" He goes, "Gold's Gym is synonymous with Venice. You think Venice, you think of the boardwalk, and you think of Gold's Gym. And Gold's Gym is staying in Venice. If you guys want them out of here, if they fuck with them, we will do everything to run you out
Could
of the
you
city."
imagine? There would literally probably be a riot.
Yeah, but this guy
Of a bunch of jacked up dudes running the streets.
Well, the repercussions would be, you know what I mean? Social media, all these other outlets, you know what I mean? Like, you're damaging lives of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That gym, every day you have over 100 people visiting from around in the summertime.
I met people from Germany, from Texas, from Peru, from a bunch of different spots just in my short time of hanging out there this month.
They all want to be a part of something special. So I'm sure Google will keep that. I mean, they'll probably be the landlord.
Yeah.
But as you know, that building is terrible. I mean, if you're going to build a corporate office, there's only like one outlet. You know what I mean? There's no air conditioning. There's no heat. There's absolutely nothing. It's just 4 walls and a leaky ceiling.
Yeah, they got it, and hopefully they kind of keep it that way though too. Like it's kind of it makes it special in some way.
Well, whoever buys it or whatever, if I'm involved, perfect. But somewhere I'd like to be still in a consulting role, because you can't mess with that. You can't put air conditioning in Gold's Gym.
No,
give a shit how sweaty. That's Gold's Gym.
No, I mean it's perfect too because it's not really. I mean, it gets hot in there, but it's not that bad.
Yeah,
it's not.
No, it could is. Be. I beg to differ.
Yeah. Well, it just gets to be gross because it's like it just stinks.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many bodies, and you got cardio equipment going. It's just. But it's great. It sucks to work at that time, but it's great to train.
Yeah.
Nothing better training, and you're just fucking sweating because
you don't realize how dehydrated you get when you're working.
Oh, I know.
When you're training somebody and you're active and you're into it.
No, totally. You have to stay on top of it.
I saw Tito Raymond in there. A few weeks ago, and he was working with a client. He's there and he's coaching every rep, and he's on top of the guy and everything. And he's a really detail oriented guy. And the guy gets up, and the second the guy gets up, he's like wiping down the machine, and then even the guy that he trained was helping wipe down the machine. He was putting all the weights back. I mean, luckily, there's a couple people in there that still give
yeah.
a shit, right?
Yeah, that's the bad part. I mean, it's
There's
so,
not enough in there that give a
Right.
shit, but you see the dumbbells just all over. You're like,
That's
somebody
disgusting.
couldn't just put them.
It's
I mean, they
insane.
end up, the 35s end up where the 135 should be,
No, I
and
know.
and a
And
lot
they're
of
all
those
over the
weird
place.
things. But
Yeah, it's my whole analogy is the inmates run the prison.
yeah,
And they do. I sat down with those guys. I said, you need, and it's not management's fault. It's coming from corporate. I said, you need signs. Please return dumbbells, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or you will be suspended.
right.
And he the manager came in. He was like, the owners in Dallas don't think that way.
Hmm.
They think it's a too hard approach. I'm like,
Yeah.
and the problem is people who've never been to Venice. Venice is not your regular gym.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't compare Gold's Gym Venice with any gym in the world. Like you said, it's the best equipped. It has the most colorful characters. It
Things
has the
get
highest
crazy and
yeah,
quick.
absolutely. Yeah, and people are there to train. It's on a social hour. So for the efficientness, you want to have everything put away in a precise manner. But it's not like mom and pop in somewhere. We're like, oh, don't worry about it. They'll put it away at their own leisure.
I always kind of wondered if there was somebody on the floor, and there's a lot of man hours, but
Yeah.
if there was somebody on the floor helping put stuff away, you'd almost think that the clientele, the people that are
Absolutely.
there, would probably assist.
It was funny because I usually do it. Surprisingly, every
Like if
morning
you
I do
hustle
it.
through there with a staff
Yeah.
shirt and you're putting stuff away,
Yeah.
I'll probably just be like, oh fuck it, I'll just,
Yeah. Well, when I do it, every time I do it in the morning, 2 or 3 guys will help.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? They're just regular guys like, yeah, we're tired of seeing it in a fucking mess.
yeah.
And the best part was when I was running with Pete Kromkowski. I'd be like, Pete, the Barbarians don't put their weights away. He goes, why should they? They're setting records. And I'm like, but the dumbbells are everywhere. It's like, well, hire someone. I'm like, all right. So Pete actually had this whole theory. It was like the pros and all the lunatics, they could leave their weights there. And he would just like hire someone.
Yeah.
So every room had 2 or 3 guys all the time just putting weights away.
Hire somebody else to put that shit away.
Yeah, totally. And Pete was insane. He goes, they're going to be on Mike Douglas and Merv Griffin. I don't want them expending energy. You know what I mean? I want them setting records. They're going to be wearing
That's
gold.
great.
But it was true, though. I mean, he had these 2 lunatic barbarians. They were on every show, and they wore Gold's Gym everywhere. So he had this, no matter where you were, you'd be like, oh, those freaks go to Gold's Gym. One of these days I want to go out there. I want to see what that gym's like,
I got to use the restroom real quick.
Yeah.
We'll take a little break. Want this podcast? I guess we'll start up. We're talking a little bit about Bill Phillips, and we had him on the podcast a while back, and I got the idea of like just kind of a crazy rich guy. He kind of gets what he wants all the time because when we were done with the podcast, he was like, "All right, now I need to see you bench 500." He's like, "I've seen some of the videos, but I got to see it. I got to see it up close." And like when you're training a specific way, everything's done at a specific time and a certain way.
Of course.
And I was like, man, I benched 500 for 3 reps yesterday. But then I was like, well, Bill Phillips is like an idol of mine. So who cares? I mean, I'm fucking going to go do it, So I did 505 for a triple, and he was flipping out.
That's
he was
awesome.
like, he's like, I just don't understand this. He's like, this is so great. He was so excited.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just beaming from head to toe. But the stuff he told us about, like creatine, and how he made the first 500-gallon like vat or whatever, and they couldn't even figure out how to make the thing that it went into, and just all this crazy stuff. I
Yeah.
was like, this is fucking wild, man. This is some
totally.
crazy stuff.
Adventurous. He took a gamble. And
How'd you end up meeting him?
Well, Bill and Sean used to train at Gold's years ago because again
And
Gold's-
Sean Phillips was always like real shredded, right?
Yeah, shredded. One of the best physiques ever.
Yeah, he was always super lean.
So those guys that want to be bodybuilders. So I met them probably early 90s, And then actually again another Gold's Gym story. Scott Conley. He met Scott Conley there.
The Metrex guy.
And Bill came up with the name Metrex. Bill was the marketing guy for Metrex.
Right, and then that's why he made his own whatever. He had some similar name or whatever, right?
Yeah, they had a big falling out.
Myoplex.
Yeah, they had a big falling out, and Bill's blind basically was like, Conley kept squeezing him out. Bill's like, well, I helped create this, squeezing him out. So finally, it's like, buy me out right now, but I'm going to warn you, I'm going to make a company that's going to bankrupt you. And Conley was a Harvard guy. He was egotistical too. He's like, fuck it, bring it on. And all of a sudden, Bill had EAS, and he found creatine. Anthony Almada, who was a brilliant guy who had his project, but Anthony is a scientist. He didn't know how to market. So Bill's like, let me give you.
Anthony's the one that found creatine.
Yeah, isolated the whole benefits for it. Yeah, and he's like,
Crazy.
I know, right? These so brilliant people. I can't even imagine how smart they are. And I tried helping him with other products, but Anthony's just so smart, but he has no marketability.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has I can't even think of his other big. What is it called?
I know there's like HMB and there's like a whole.
But
list
even
of
to this day, he has like this super high carbohydrate compound. You know, and I'd be like, he asked me, he's like, "Oh man, you want to help me?" I'm like, having this is like eating 10 bowls of spaghetti, having that energy, but no fat, no scientific fat gain. He's like, "Yeah, that's basically right." I said, "Well, let's use that for your marketing. Imagine that, the energy you could have."
Yeah.
He goes, "But you can't. It's not scientific proof." And I'm like, "But you can kind of have." He's like, "No, he was so hard to. He was such a scientist. You know what I mean?" And that's what Bill's just like, "I'm just buying this company, and I'm going to show creatine will add volume and strength to you." And boom, done. And it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, and the testing and stuff, really, a lot of it didn't come till later on. I mean, Bill did some of his own stuff.
Yeah.
He was the master of, showing the double-blind placebo study or whatever, like whatever any of that means, whatever he did. I mean, I guess he was almost more of and I'm sure other people wrote the articles, but he was almost more of a writer than anything. I remember reading Muscle Media, and I was so excited. I was like, I can't train without this stuff.
I know.
I'm like, I'm at a disadvantage. I'd go to like my parents, and I was like, I need, my dad's like, get a job, And I'm like, all right, shit.
I don't need a job. I need HMB.
Yeah.
I need phosphagen.
yeah. Phosphagen and phosphagems and
everything. Right.
It was such an exciting time, and I remember you'd get through the article though, you'd be so pumped about it, and they're like, well, you can't purchase it. It's not in stores.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is to pre-order it right through here. And I'm like, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Marketing
exclusive.
genius.
I'm like,
genius.
it's new. I can't be without, because you're thinking, you're also kind of thinking, oh, this is sick. I'm going to be on like the forefront of other stuff.
Right.
I'm going to have advantage over my buddies that I train with.
Absolutely. Yeah. The marketing was brilliant. I mean, he had a deal with FedEx. So right when you sign, you got your product the next day. And then he had support team, 24-hour support team. So he revolutionized the supplement industry like nobody's business. Because before you'd be like, all right, I got to buy this thing, wait 4 to 6 weeks from Weider. What's going to get there? By the time you got it, you forgot you ordered it. You didn't know what to take. You didn't know what the loads were. You didn't know. It'd be like, take 2 scoops with water. Is this before training, after training? When do you know what I mean? It was crazy.
And they had a very specific way of taking it. And it was like, you take it with like grape juice because the insulin spike.
Right. You had to get other products. You had to get grape juice to take this. I'm like, geez, there's so much work involved. But you loved it.
Yeah, well, they did the grape juice for a while, and then they just made their own product that had had the extra carbs in there. So you were involved a little bit though with that company, and you'd fly out there and do stuff with them, right?
Yeah, I started. It was funny because I knew those guys, and I was dating that girl Monica at the time, so they wanted to endorse
Monica Brandt.
Yeah, you wanted to endorse Monica Brandt. So she was their product spokesperson. And
by the way, I should say that's what we were the most excited about when we met Mike. He was dating Monica Brandt. We really did not give a fuck about him.
No one gives a shit about me.
That we liked him, and we're just like,
if my penis could talk.
This girlfriend of yours, this is something else.
That's funny. I get that all the time. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so they endorsed her, and so I just got to know those guys because whatever they had a falling out, and I stayed friends with them because I just liked them. I liked what they were doing, and Bill would always send me stuff, and then and it was how my whole career with them started, just a freak chance. I would either train because as the gym manager, everyone bothered you. You know what I mean? So I'd either train at 4 a.m. when there was no one there, or like 10:30 at night when no one was there. It was just happened to be one day. I don't know. I think we're going to a Kings hockey game or something that night. So I'm like, I'm going to train at noon. I'm going to train at lunchtime. I'm going to take my lunch break. I'm going to train. So I'm training, and all of a sudden I can see this guy's checking me out. I'm like, oh, here we go, And this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Are you a model?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I model. I model socks and umbrellas. I'm the highest." You know what I mean? I'm just being a wise ass to him. I'm like, "Nah, I'm really not a model." He's like, "Oh, you really sure?" He's like, I'm like, "Well, who are you?" He's like, "Oh, my name's Cal Yee." I'm like, "Not the Cal Yee who shoots for Weider." He's like, "Actually, I don't shoot for Weider anymore. I shoot for Bill Phillips." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Bill bought this company." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know he bought EAS." He's like, "Yeah, he signed this publication, Muscle Media 2000. He's turned to Muscle Media, and he just wants to endorse natural guys." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I say he's gonna bodybuild with all natural guys." I'm like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. He's like, he wants to do it. He goes, you look great. Would you do a test shoot? But we have to drug test you. So I'm like, sure. What are we testing for? He's like, steroids. I'm like, I can pass that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I went to a studio, did a test shot. Then I had to go to this lab and pee in a cup. And like 3 days later, I get a call from Bill. He's just like, you're such an asshole. I go, why? He goes, you would always come down. Me and Sean were training. You'd always have a stupid shirt on with a tie and khaki jeans, you know? He goes, I never knew you were shredded underneath. I said at Gold's Gym, it's
You're
hard.
just like rocking like a polo, right? And,
Yeah,
and pants.
or I wear a shirt and tie, you know? Because when I first started, I said, I need to establish myself as the manager. I'm wearing a shirt and tie. So when people walk by, if I have a question, I know to that guy because he's wearing a tie. Somewhere in that gym, if anyone was wearing
he's
a tie.
here every day, and
Yeah,
he's got
yeah.
a fucking suit and tie on.
Right. So that's the guy I'm going to talk to. So, yeah. So at first I would just always wear a shirt, a goofy shirt or a tie or a polo or something. But my body was, and even still, when you think you're shredded and you go to Gold's Gym, I'm like, how the fuck can I be shredded? I'm sitting next to the Flex Wheeler. The guy's 0% body fat. He's shredded. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Your image is screwed. It's screwed at yourself.
One of the first people I ever saw there was Dexter Jackson. I was just kind of looking at him and I was like, I couldn't make any sense of it. You know, I'm like 20 or 21. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this guy's in pretty good shape. I didn't really even think of it because he's, you know, in like a sweatshirt or something.
Yeah.
But I noticed that he was big. And then he was there that day doing a photo shoot and he took his shirt off and I was like, what? I'm like, what is happening?
He's got muscles in places I don't even have places.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? And now he's like, I don't know, 53 or something. And
he's still jacked,
he's
right?
still-
But that's how our whole vision of ourselves gets screwed. Like when I go to Boston, it was like, hey, big guy, hey, you're huge. Hey, I'm like, talking to you. I'm like, me? Like, you're fucking huge. I'm like, not in my world. He's like, what do you mean? I said, this guy's a 6'8", 290 there. They're fucking huge. You know what I mean?
Tomorrow the mountain's going to be here. Hapthor Bjornsson, 6'10" or 6'11".
I can't wait to meet him. I love Game of Thrones. I'm going to wear my Game of Thrones shirt.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
You make sure he doesn't push his thumbs right through your skull.
Yeah. I raped and I killed your sister.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so this photographer, he shot me and Bill's like, I never knew you looked that good, and I was so shocked. He goes, I'm thinking, would you like to be a brand ambassador for my company? I'm like, what?
Sounds great.
He's like, yeah. He's like, come on, you're a good looking guy.
You ever had anything like that before?
Not to that extent. You know what I mean?
Just
like
people giving you free stuff because you're the manager.
Yeah,
of Gold's.
absolutely. Yeah, all the time. Little perks here. Iron Man, you know, they shot me for just like Mike Ryan does this. You know what I mean? Nothing huge, you know? But Bill's offering me this fucking contract, you know? Like,
what did your pops think of this when this
my
started? Was he doing cartwheels?
Yeah, he's like, you? You know? And it was
He's
pretty
like, you little shit.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, and Bill does it, you know what I mean? He does it in such a way you feel like you're getting recruited for college again. You know, all of a sudden he's like, well, this is what we want, and this is going to be your cover when you sign. So I'm like, I got a cover magazine coming out, and I'm getting a contract. Fucking love you. You're the greatest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
So all of a sudden, I would just be like, and I was always under the impression, like, don't ever talk about it until it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I really didn't say anything. I said, yeah, I'm talking to this guy, Bill. He's, you know, he wants to do this and that. And then all of a sudden, I'd be like, Mom, Dad, go to the magazine store and call me when you get home. My mom's like, you're on a cover. What did you do? You know?
Yeah,
Pretty wild, fun stuff.
Yeah, who'd you blow?
Totally.
You know what? Bill Phillips, I think something that separates him out from a lot of others is that he's just completely obsessed. You know, he when he was at Super Training, he kept kind of grabbing his stomach. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm just not in the shape that I want to be in better shape. Like he was just so like in tune with the whole thing.
Right.
And I think that's
Well, seeing all you young lions out there too probably fucking ate him apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel the same way.
He still looked like he was in pretty good shape, especially because it seemed like the wheels fell off after the business went up and down, and he went through some stuff. He told me like he broke both his legs or something.
Knees. Yeah, both his knees
fell down a flight of stairs or something crazy, and then he mentioned some stuff about some maybe painkillers or something along those lines. But it just sounded like he went through a really rough time.
Sure.
You know, but that's one great thing about training is you can come back.
Yeah.
You can come back. There's something to always come back to. And you were talking about football, how you tried to come back, and you couldn't quite get over the hump. It's just your own hump, right? So it's like maybe you're not in the shape that you wanted to be in, but we can be level-headed enough to say, I could be in the shape that I want to be in 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can be in better shape, or I could be stronger, or I could put 10 pounds on. You can kind of think like, how am I going to flip this? How am I going to adjust?
Right.
And you can always have new goals and don't have to ever end.
And that was actually when we were talking about the old football days, when your playing days are over. It was like, thank God for the gym.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Thank God it's an outlet. It's a stress release. And boy, when I move weight, I feel pretty good.
Have you ever had times in your life where you weren't, where you just were away from the gym, like just working too much or something, where you just
it's funny.
felt like shit?
Someone asked me that today, with the exception of being sick or my injuries in college. You know what I mean? They kind of impaired my. But when I caught hepatitis in India, I was out for 3 months.
Shit.
That's just the longest I've ever been. But other than that, I've probably taken a week off once a year.
Hepatitis is devastating. How do you get that?
Yeah. Oh, it's disgusting. And basically, you're eating fecal. You're eating shit.
Yeah, that happened to Justin, I think,
Yeah.
and his wife.
Yeah.
They both
traveling
got
around.
it from traveling.
Yep.
And yeah, I didn't even notice because he always looks pretty big and always looks pretty good to me. But he's like, yeah, I lost 25 pounds. I was like, oh my God, you did lose 25 pounds.
Right. Yeah. When he came back, I knew right away. He's like, oh, my wife's sick. I'm like, how are you? He's like, I'm good. And I was like,
and you're like, I ain't saying nothing.
I know, right? Well, I was like, well, you probably, I said, you lost some weight. He's like, walking around. He was, he didn't know what was going on. And that was me when you first get hepatitis. You know, you're like, 1 week you feel like you had bad food poisoning, you're over it. And next week, you feel like you have bad food poisoning, you're over it. And for me, it kept going on for like a month. I'm like, something's wrong here. Then all of a sudden, then
just throwing up and shitting.
Yeah. Then your kidney just stops. It just shuts down. So you are just a Chinese firecracker. Everything's coming out every end. I mean, it's gross, but I was just laying on my bathroom in my shower, just puking and shit, and like boom, coming out of me. It's disgusting.
That's what I do. I go in the shower when I get in that predicament.
Yeah, totally. That's all you can do. You know what I mean? It's an awful, disgusting.
So it's like a flu, but you have it for months.
Yeah, months. Yeah,
wow.
And for the toxins to get out of your skin too, often you just start breaking out uncontrollable itching. Because your liver's not functioning. Your liver's just stopped. So you still get toxins that you can't
really
purge.
Can't take much for it?
Yeah, no, nothing. You just suck on. And when I was in India, the only thing I could eat was like a cup of rice and water.
They maybe have you do like an IV or something? Just
yeah, for me, the first couple of days, I was in an Indian hospital, all IV'd up, and I was just like, get me the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? They had like one TV off in the distance playing like, 1930s Bollywood movies. It was like a horrible dream. I'm like, the worst Groundhog Day. I'm like waking up. I'm like, I'm still here. Get me the fuck out of here.
Just keep shitting yourself over and over again.
Totally, yeah, it's the worst. You're just laying there, and then when you think you're done, you're like, all right, give me a little water.
Weren't you training like a prince or something like that? Or
no, there's just all the actors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are all the actors.
They was just shooting a movie over there.
Oh yeah, I mean, God, their business is crazy. They shoot. You know what I mean? For them, acting just it's a job. You know what I mean? It's not like here, like working with Brad Pitt. You do a movie, you take a month off, you go on the press junket for 2 months, and then you go back to work.
Yeah.
There they do movie. You know what I mean? It's like every day they just go to a movie.
Just cranking right through.
Yeah.
It.
They go to, sometimes they don't even think they're in the movie. They just show up. Okay, you're in this movie.
Like here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Sing, dance, next movie. Sing, dance, next movie.
Yeah, we're going at it again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really no downtime. Those guys just work.
We were talking a little bit about the Barbarian Brothers, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the characters of Gold's Gym over the years. I mean, the Barbarian Brothers, paint us a picture of like what it looked like with the clothes and the long hair. And
oh man, they became such icons that people would dress up with them for Halloween.
People that are listening to the show, you got to Google it.
I mean, Barbarians. They all had blue jeans, big blue jeans.
Like the Cavarici type things.
Yeah, high-waisted blue jeans. Good call. High-waisted blue jeans, tucked into work boots. Sometimes shirt, sometimes no shirt. Either a ripped flannel.
Yeah.
Headbands like like piece
looking
of
like
cloth
pro wrestlers, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And they were huge. They were always tan, and they were always huge. They were.
Why are they wearing jeans in the gym?
I know. And they had huge legs, too. And they never wore shorts. They were squatting jeans. They were training jeans and work boots. They were just so fucking weird. You know what I mean? And of course, they're from New England. They're from Rhode Island.
Are they really?
Absolutely.
And they would come to the gym, but they would do like if they did like a tricep push down, it wasn't just just a stack or whatever, which a lot of strong guys can do. The other dude would be like standing on it and stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, they did all kinds of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they went on, like I said, the talk show circuits before, I think the Mike Douglas, all those shows back in the 80s or whatever. and they would reverse grip 550 or something,
Oh my
like
God.
astronomical.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how they would just train. They would just do crazy lifts, and they were goofy, and they were loud, and they were just weird. You know what I mean? And they would just talk like no one else was in the room. Like how I yelled, like if Andy's down in the kitchen, hey Andy, what's going? That's their volume. And if they're right next to each other, hey, yeah, Peter, we're gonna lift weight. You know what I mean? And then they became wacky. You know what I mean? Through time, like I can't remember which brother said like the hand of God touched him, and he's like, and he'd be like, God has touched me, don't you? And he'd be like trying to yell at people, don't you know I'm the anointed one? God has touched me. He'd be like, Lord, show me the way to the beach. And his brother blindfolded him and just let him walk out. And he goes, the Lord will take me to the beach. He started walking and he got hit by a car.
He got hit by a car?
He just stayed in the middle of the road and the cars are beeping. So he started, you know what I mean? He's blindfolded. So he started taking left and all of a sudden he immediately cut on the wall. He got bumped down. And his brother's still in the gym. I'm cracking up. I'm like, gonna get your brother? He's like, nah, he'll realize that God really didn't anoint him eventually. and he's walking east the whole time. He's behind the gym. He's going all the way down that way.
Crazy.
Insane. And his brother just didn't care.
But whatever happened with those guys? Any idea?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think they're still around somewhere, but I don't know what. You know, that would be a great like, where are they now segment?
Yeah.
All the lunatics.
Yeah, we gotta figure out. We gotta find those guys.
Oh, they'd be.
Who are some of the stronger guys you ever seen in the gym?
Oh boy, that's funny because Kurt Elder, who's a trainer, he had a whole powerlifting team.
Yeah, he trained with Fedco and stuff.
Rod
Ron Fedco. Yeah.
Fedco was a strong son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was crazy.
And Mike O'Hearn just has crazy strength. You know, I can't even. And there was a couple other guys.
O'Hearn's been like strong, you know, in that gym for the last 30 years or whatever the hell.
I mean, and people shit on him all the time, but some of it's warranted, some of it isn't. But Mike is a good guy, and he's dedicated to what he does.
You got to hand it to him in terms of the consistency.
Absolutely. I mean, that guy has never been out of shape, and the guy's never shown up weak. You know what I mean? It's amazing. It's literally amazing what he does.
It's crazy how quickly he can change because, like, I trained with him this whole month.
Yeah.
And we did a couple exercises, and I was like, for me, strength-wise, I'm like way far away from any of the strength that I had before. But even so, I would be able to beat him on some stuff, but not a lot of stuff because he's good at everything. You do like a bent over row with him, he's using like 455, and it's got perfect form, you know. And I'm dying using 315 or whatever. But.
And he's a big guy too.
He's huge. Yeah. We did a couple workouts, and I was like, I think before I leave, I think I'll be able to catch him on something. But he's so competitive. You know, I'm coming down in weight for this bodybuilding show, and I think when we started, he was like 245, and it wasn't that much longer later. It was like 2-3 weeks went by. He was like 270.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ.
What the fuck did you do?
I'm like, I ain't catching him on shit, I guess.
That's so funny. I always say I always want to catch him on exercise and just do one next to him with his weight. And call it a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one of these days, he really doesn't train arms too much, I think. So I want to catch him and just throw my 100s or 110 dumbbells and be like, I'm done. I fucking beat you at something. I'm done.
There's definitely something to, you know, I don't think the guy gets credit for being smart with his training, but he's never been hurt.
Yep.
And he also, I'm sure I'm sure just like all of us, he has things that hurt, but he's never had like a really crazy injury.
Yeah, he never tore anything, ripped anything from his bone.
But he doesn't really train to failure. He doesn't get any spots, you know. And I think some of these things are important because he's the one generating the power every time. And if you watch him over and over again, he's demonstrating good form over and over again. And he's got just these real specific ways of doing some of these movements where you look at him and you're like, that movement's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fucking stupid movement. But as you go through some of these exercises with him, even something like a lateral raise, he'll bring a lateral raise all the way up overhead. And you're like, it's going to tear your rotator cuff off. What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
But if you use a weight that's appropriate for that exercise, use like 20 or 15, it's brutal, and it's taking your shoulder through a good range. I mean, it's healthy to be able to move your body around as much as you can.
Which is funny because you do that and you see all these other young bodybuilders doing their lateral raise like 55s, and they're only going like 6 inches.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I always want to tell these guys, like, that's good now, but you have a life, and after this 2 years of competing, and so one day you're going to want to reach up and grab something off the shelf, and you want to be able to do that.
You're going to lose a lot of your athleticism, and you're still into that. I see you pushing a sled. I see you fucking jumping. I see you doing all kinds of stuff.
I always want to be an athlete first. You know what I mean? I like, you know what I mean? I like being strong and everything, but just to maintain athleticism. And the funny thing is just the other day, you know how it is crossing the street, like no one stops. I thought this guy would stop. You know, he just fucking blew, and I actually had a sprint. Did like a 20-yard sprint, or I would have got run over. I was like, motherfucker, I'm glad I'm still an athlete.
Well, there's some evidence now. They've done some research that is showing that people that walk faster, people that just move faster in general, they tend to live longer.
Oh, really?
And people that have stronger legs tend to live longer because people with stronger legs can prevent themselves from tripping, from falling, and hurting their hip.
Well, my old story is like when people are like, you don't want to train, I say you die from your legs up. You die from your ankles up. In your formative years, you get a knee injury, you get a hip injury, you're not going to recover, and then you're just going to rot away.
Right.
If you have a strong foundation, boom, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, just if you're just going down the stairs or something, you tear something in your knee and you're 70 or 75. Done. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to recover from that. You got to take time in the hospital. If it happens at 40, you're probably not a huge deal.
Yep,
but it happens as you get older. You're toast.
Preventive maintenance training. Absolutely.
What about the biggest person you've ever seen in the gym?
That'll be tomorrow.
yeah.
No, but there was a Jeep. Remember Jeep Swenson?
Yeah.
Here's my best story. Jeep at one time had like this Mongolian ponytail.
He's Bane, by the way, in the first Batman.
Yeah, so he was like 6'8", almost 400 pounds.
And he was just like purple, red.
Yeah, and when he first came, he had hair out of the side of his head, a long ponytail, like almost to the ground, and he was just so fucking huge. So he knew the owners. I didn't know. So they're like, Tim's just like, go to the front desk and ask for the manager and just threaten his life. So all of a sudden he goes to the front desk. He's like, where's the manager? I'm like, oh, he's upstairs. He's like, get the fucking manager. So it was Mike Lanning. He's like, Mike, I don't know what you did, but this guy's mad. I'm like, what? So I'm looking on the screen. I'm like, holy fuck, who is this guy? He goes, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, all right. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I go down there. And legit, he was a fucking monster. So I'm like, hey, can I help you? He's like, you're the fucking manager? I'm like, whoa, no language. Don't fucking tell me. I'm like, whoa. And he just started overpowering me. You know what I mean? It's like, you motherfucker, I fucking come to train here. You're coming to this fight. And I'm like, settle down, buddy. And he's like, don't fucking buddy me. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm like, I'm reaching for my pockets. I'll give me anything. And I'm like, what the fuck, buddy? I'm like, I don't even fucking know you. Is it your wife? I would tell me what I did. You know what I mean? And he just starts cracking up. I'm like, motherfucker. And all of a sudden Tim and Derek and Ed, all the owners, they're in the pro shop cracking up, and I swear to my shirt, I'm like, you guys fucking suck. I'm like, you're a big prick, but you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, he was like over 400 pounds.
Yeah, huge.
He was massive.
There was a guy, it was a great story. He was such a nice guy. There was a guy giving Mike Lanahan, come to think of it, some guy kept wanting to fight him. You know, Mike's just like, you got to sign. He's like, fuck you. And he was a big guy, you know what I mean? And Mike's just like, come on, buddy. I'm just trying to work. He's like, fuck you. Every morning you give me fucking shit. He's like, no, you gotta sign in. Who the fuck are you? He's like, I'm gonna fucking come over that desk. I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking. You know, this guy was a big guy too. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was on. I didn't see it live. I had to see it on a film. That Jeep fucking Swenson came and grabbed him by the neck, and one of those things you see in Hollywood.
Yeah,
just picked him up, and this guy was a big fucking guy, and he held him. He started squeezing. This guy's fighting for his life on his hand, and he's like, and Jeep just looks at me and goes, I don't ever want to see you in California again. And the guy just fucking
in California. That's great.
Yeah, totally. And we're just like, I was like, fuck, that was unbelievable. You know what I mean? Mike Lannan was like, he's like, look, I want to fight him. I don't know what it is. He's like, no, you don't have to fight him. The guy's a fucking asshole. He goes, if you ever see him in California, let me know. Yeah, it was a great line.
I remember.
The guy never ever showed up again.
I remember seeing Jeep Swenson in there curling 225.
Yeah.
It was just like part of a workout. He was doing sets of 10.
Ridiculous.
I was like, what the fuck? I mean, the bar just looked weird in his hands because he was so big.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck do you do? He goes, I raise tigers. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I have a tiger ranch in Texas.
The fuck?
I go, yeah. He was like, yeah. And he took off his shirt one day, he had claws all over him. He's like, yeah, the female's in heat, so I got to keep the males from fucking attacking them. I'm like, well, he goes, yeah, they're aggressive, so I just fucking wrestle them down. They get a good par, but I get my shots in. I go, you fucking fight tigers all day.
It's insane.
Yeah, insane.
Insane bastard. Yeah, you don't see. I mean, that era was different.
Oh yeah,
There's a different.
It was the '80s. Everything
Yeah.
bigger was better, and everything, cars, everything. You know what I mean? It was
What
just
about
like,
some of the pro wrestlers? A lot of the wrestlers would come around,
Oh,
right?
they
Like
were-
Hogan
oh,
and
totally, they were-
Kevin Nash.
the best times ever. And they would use Venice. They love Venice. Venice was their
Triple H actually started getting in really good shape
Absolutely.
after meeting up with Charles Glass.
right.
It
Totally.
was years ago. He was always in shape. He was always jacked.
But
he always had
China,
size.
Joni would always train with Charles when she was
Right.
down because she was
Yeah.
a bodybuilder technically first,
Right.
So she knew of Charles. Yeah, those guys when they would come to town. This is back when these guys wrestled, like as you know, you're on the circuit so many nights. So they would get a place in Venice. Most of them used to stay. It's called now the Hotel Irwin, but then it was just the Venice Suites. I think I can't remember what it was. So they would stay there, drive down to San Diego, come back, drive to Anaheim, come back, wrestle in L.A., stay there. Go to Sacramento, come back. Go to Fresno, come back. Go to San Francisco, come back. So they were in L.A. basically almost like a good 3 weeks,
Hmm.
and they had a little days in between. So those days, those guys would just go nuts. They would absolutely go nuts. They would train like animals. They would eat like gorillas, and they would party like fucking monsters.
Hit up the firehouse.
Oh, absolutely.
People aren't hitting up the firehouse as much as they used
No,
to.
yeah, that whole era's done. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, everyone's worried about their macros or whatever.
Yeah, everyone's got their own.
The firehouse, they probably served more pancakes when those guys were in town. It was insane.
Yeah, the bodybuilder breakfast.
Yeah, eggs.
Have you ever done a bodybuilding show?
No.
How about like a powerlifting meet?
Nope, never.
Just football and then just training.
Football. Yeah. I played all team sports. Powerlifting, I was something like, I think I was too vain. I was like, oh, I kind of got abs. I don't want to become one of these fat guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
gotta
honest with you.
got to get a little fluffy for powerlifting.
You do got to get. I mean, that's extra weight. Weight equates to strength, and then bodybuilding. When I first went, you know what I mean. You see the magazine, you see the glamour side of bodybuilding. You know, all these guys like, wow, they all got hot girlfriends, they all got great cars. I read all the magazines.
Yeah.
And then you go to Gold's Venice, and it was such a reality slap. You know what I mean? I never had aspirations to be a bodybuilder. So when I saw guys living in their car, I was like, "There's no fucking way that's for me."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it's really a hard thing to make sense of because, and I'm not being judgmental against it. You guys already know that I'm all for it, but you're pumping a lot of shit into your system.
Mhm.
Like, so you're taking a lot of dangerous things. Meanwhile, you're worried about if you have like an extra little tiny bit of like canola oil on something or olive oil. Like, so you're trying to be like ultra healthy, but you're not really necessarily healthy. You're just getting lean and getting shredded.
Right.
And it's like kind of almost, it's hard to understand like, what is it for? I mean, and you can look at me and look at the powerlifting career and think the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Once you get caught up in something, it's like, I don't know, football. We bang our heads against each other. I don't know, like we just love it. And you get to a point where you committed to it and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But the bodybuilding, like as a lifestyle, like I'm getting ready to do a bodybuilding show at the end of August and I'm excited for it and I'm really glad to do it, but I don't want to make this like my permanent lifestyle of having like everything center around bodybuilding. When I was powerlifting, I would say that I had powerlifting kind of center around me rather than me, rather than having powerlifting like run my life.
Right. That makes sense.
And I don't want, bodybuilding, it doesn't seem like there's any other way to do it. When you get on stage, it seems like there's one way to do it and it has to run your life for at least a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you kind of avoided it?
Yeah, well, I saw the downside to it. I saw, well, first, the amount of money you had to spend for the gear. I was like, holy fuck, you're spending that much? I always like, okay, what are the rewards? I mean, what are the rewards? And a good thing for me was going to Gold's Gym and seeing, wow, sometimes the ends don't justify the means. Sometimes you can be a celebrity or you can be a powerlifter or you can be a bodybuilder and you can still be sleeping in your car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where's the justification to sacrifice and you see it, sacrifice family, sacrifice friends, sacrifice relationships, sacrifice careers, you know what I mean? Some people go, I mean, it's such a perversion of life of how it's done. Sometimes you're like, wow, do I want to go down this road? And you know what I mean? Of course, then you have the success. You see Arnold, like, fuck, obviously you want to do it. That's amazing. It's the greatest thing he ever did. It's wonderful for him. Then you see the downsides, like the Mensa brothers. It made their mind snapped and they ended up killing themselves.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best physiques in the 80s, you know? It's a weird, like you said, it's hard to describe what it's like. So seeing, hearing, and witnessing so much, probably I probably saw more negative because at Gold's in the 90s, it was an explosion of size. You know what I mean? It was like Arnold competed, 225. All of a sudden, Lee Haney competed like 230, 240, putting on size. You had a young Dorian, chasing Lee Haney. All right.
Yeah.
So now he's competing at 280. Then all of a sudden, Lee Haney's the freak. He's competing at 200. And in the 90s, you had, there was Nasser al-Somebody, Jean-Pierre Fuchs. There was Dorian. There was Ronnie Coleman.
Paul Dillette.
Paul Dillette. These guys were fucking gorillas, and they were all a few pounds shy of 300 pounds. And that's what
massive.
Massive. And that's what the sport dictated. Big one back then. You know what I mean? Big beat over anything. I always thought Flex Wheel had the best physique ever, but they gave it to Ronnie Coleman because he was fucking massive. You know what I mean?
Right.
And witnessing what these guys did and what it took. And smart enough, I realized like that's really not for me. And you look back now, it's like probably the best decision ever I probably could have made. Because you hate to say it. There's a whole wall in the third room, and probably 70% of those guys are dead. And Ron Coleman, who's the Mr. Olympia through all those 90s.
Hopefully he can come out feeling a little bit better in the next couple of years. But it doesn't look like It looks,
he's taking a beating. And like the guys I mentioned, NASA, he's passed away. Mike Matarazzo passed away. Paul DeMeo, massive, passed away. It's a sad story about what happened, what all these guys did to compete at that size, and what it took, the toll it took on their body and their lives and their relationships and everything else, just sacrificed.
Yeah, and the off season too. These guys would get even bigger.
Bigger.
They'd be 40, 50, 60 pounds heavier, and a lot of times even fat.
Oh, totally.
Like fat and bloated and totally like unhealthy, right?
Yeah, there was a story of I probably won't mention his name. He probably wouldn't want it. But he was so big that he couldn't wipe his own ass. His girlfriend had to wipe his ass. You know what I mean? Imagine just being that incapacitated that you can't even stick your hand behind your butt.
Lats are too big, couldn't quite get there.
Right, yeah.
Need to get a special stick or something.
Right. Hose him down. She'd just say, get in the fucking shower, I'm hosing you down.
Yeah, it's a crazy sport, but it does kind of rein you in. It helps with discipline. How do you stay in shape now? Like, do you do any photo shoots or anything? Because I know, like, if you have something coming up, it's a little easier to maybe want to be in a little bit better shape.
Oh, totally. To this day, I still set short-term attainable goals where I'm shooting, and this is right now for the last couple of weeks. I said I'm going to do Bill's camp. So Bill wants me there as a spokesman, as this ex-EIS guy that he discovered. So I want to go there. I want to impress the shit out of him. At 52, I'm going to look better than anyone who's 26 or less. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I do. I set short obtainable goals. I think photo shoots are amazing because it captures your body in its essence. You know what I mean? This is me. This is what I look like. Wow, fuck. I look pretty good, or wow, I don't look that good. Then I can and work on it, improve on it.
Right.
Yeah. So though I don't compete, and though I get a modeling gig once every blue moon, you know what I mean?
Right.
I still want to put myself out there, and with social media. Because social media is the rage now, and people are so critical that I think you have to be on top of your game all the time too.
Right.
Like I see you guys, and I started doing live feeds, and it's funny. It's like, hey, I'm doing live feeds, and people are like, you're gross, you're skinny, you're a dick. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? It's just funny. There's people just bash you a lot of times for no reason. Then you get a lot of positives, like, hey, man, you're an inspiration. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. I'm following you every day. You got to keep going. It's like, fuck, man, there's a lot of pressure. You got to keep working.
Yeah. There is a lot of pressure. That's actually a reason why, I've spent all this time and all these things on trying to build up the social media, and then I deleted it, so I still run it, almost like somebody running shit from inside of a prison or something. I still provide pictures and still provide a lot of thought behind it, but it just got to be too. What sucks is I don't get to see what my friends are doing. You know what I mean? Because I completely deleted it. Even my wife was like, "Oh, I want to show you, because your last post did really well," and I'm like, I just don't even want to look at it at this moment. I was having my chest was fluttering, and I was getting these weird things, and I didn't equate it to social media because I'm like, I'm not a fucking pussy. What is this? But it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of extra pressure that I just didn't need, and I was
that's interesting.
I was on there way too much. Yeah. Probably not really on there much more than anybody else, but I was on there a lot. I put a lot of thought into it. And I think probably one thing that bothered me the most is I always feel like I'm trying to share a message that people maybe aren't ready to fully understand yet. And so I somewhat feel misunderstood all the time. And maybe it's just because I don't have the right way or the right words or whatever to put together to it. But
I don't. I think you're different. I think your message is sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that
Thank you.
get you. No, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's
You know,
it's
you know-
great, but I'm always looking at the people that don't get it,
Yeah.
and that's where
And
my
that's-
problem.
yeah,
That's
totally.
where my problem is.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many people that love it, and there's so many people that are embracing it,
Yeah.
and
They spend more time about the people calling you a dickhead.
Yeah, I think the most harmful part was just worrying about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
I don't need to be caught up in
But
it.
it's human nature.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know. What's his name? Zoo Culture.
Yeah.
What's Bradley Martin.
There
Okay,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah. I didn't know who he was, but he was
Yeah.
in the gym one day, and I was like, "Oh, that guy's a good sized guy." You know what I mean? Arnold's asking who he is. I'm like, "I don't know." He has to take a picture with Arnold. So I'm like, "All right." So someone's like, "Oh, that's one of the young guys." "Oh, that's Bradley Martin."
Huge
like-
following. Yeah.
Yeah,
insane.
I'm like, "Well, is he an actor, athlete?" You know what I mean? He's like, "No, he's a social media guy." I was like, "Oh, whatever." You know what I mean? But it seems like
Right.
like a nice guy, and I didn't. So I right when I looked him up, he was doing your podcast, I
Oh,
guess.
okay. Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, if he's a friend of Smelly, he's going to be all right." And he just talked about he had anxiety attacks, and
Yeah.
and his body shut down or something because, and of course, half of me is like, "Oh, what a fucking pussy," you know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking about myself. I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck's wrong with me?
Yeah, what a pussy. Why does that happen? Then you start realizing, I'm like, wow, there is a lot of pressure out there, and a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know how to handle it, and a lot of people don't
Right.
know where to look for it. But he seems like a real cool guy. You know what I mean? And I hope his health is up there. But
Yeah, I mean, he's in amazing shape, but it is a pressure, and it's self-induced.
and that's what he was suffering from, right? Same thing.
Yeah, it was basically the same thing. I mean, he kind of said it was like more like business related, but business nowadays is related to
Social
your
media.
social media.
Yeah.
And I don't feel, I guess, because the business. I mean, I'm sure that I still feel pressure from the business, but the business has been built up so gradual. I mean, you've been
Yeah.
around for the whole thing. It's been built up so gradual, and the YouTube channel and all these other things
Yeah.
have been this real slow climb.
Right.
And then these other things come in, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, oh shit, like, what else is going to come in? What else
Yeah.
do I got to be responsible for?
Right.
And I'm trying to spin a lot of plates at one time. I'm still trying to be creative with the products. I got my kids, I got my wife.
Yeah.
I got a lot of other things moving. My brother and I are working on a movie right now, so there's just a lot of things going on at one time. And I just thought, you know what? This would be the greatest chop, because if I just chop it out, it'll save me so much time. And
Mhm.
now, like you said, you like to focus on yourself, which some people might take that the wrong way. When you focus on yourself, you're able to serve other people better. All
Yeah.
the clients that you're training every day, you're able to motivate and inspire them when you feel the best.
Yeah.
If you're in there and you're depressed because you feel fat and you feel this and you feel that, because the last couple weeks you didn't make any time for yourself to train the way you wanted to, that's not helping anybody out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. And one thing I did find, social media can be positive. It
It's
can be.
absolutely.
I
it
mean,
can be.
there's so many good positives that you do get a lot of feedback, and it is inspiring. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The thing is, like, no one my age is really on social media. It's
Right,
just so.
right.
I mean, I got people say, "You on MySpace?" You know what I mean? But Facebook is still like Bill. Bill's only on Facebook.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, Bill, you really need to expand. You have to step out of Facebook. You need to get into Instagram. You need
See,
to
that's
do other
something,
things.
and that's something that should be filmed.
I know that conversation.
That
would be hilarious.
conversation is great.
Yeah, totally. So I'm taking in a guy who's a year older than me,
Right.
into like the millennial way. So it's funny, but yeah, this whole social media craze, whatever it is, it can be inspiring. It can be motivated, and I do get so much good positive feedback. So that's also another good way to keep myself training hard.
The Muscle Critic.
The Muscle Critic.
What's
Muscle
going on with the
Critic's
Muscle Critic?
Muscle Critics are Mission Impossible. Gave it 2 biceps. The Muscle Critics is something I don't even know how I came up with. I'm watching.
How many biceps can you earn?
Probably just 2. Unless I.
It's like
I
a
flex
double
my-
bicep.
Except I flex my femoral bicep.
Yeah, there you
go. No, it was just I don't know I don't even know how I came upon it. You know what I mean? Of course, when you know me, I'm critical of everyone.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I would just
you're always giving everybody ball buster.
all the time. You know what I mean? Just love it. You know what I mean? Fucking, you look terrible. You know
Well, you miss the locker room, right? And
I
then
know.
the gym's kind of the locker
Yeah.
room mentality too.
and some people get it. Some people get so offended and they walk away. That's even better. You know, but so
Well,
I'm
my brother's always trying to tell you something, and you're like, you got nothing, and then he just walks away frustrated. He's
Totally.
like, he's like, Mike's the fucking worst.
He crushes me all the time. You know? But it's the best. Just so I'm so critical, and I was just like, I should just make this thing. I'm like the Muscle Critic. I just criticize everything. You know, so I figured I'll just start first with movies. And here's the funniest thing. I just critique a movie. I'm like, hey, it's your Muscle Critic. Either give it a flex or I give it like a saggy jelly ass, something funny. But the state in California, they give homeless guys phones, and they have free plans and everything. So I'm walking the beach and all of a sudden these homeless guys like, Muscle Critic, when's your next review?
Oh,
I'm like,
shit.
I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they're showing we follow you. And I'm like, that is the best. I got all the homeless in Venice waiting for my reviews.
Should have took a selfie with them.
I told you, a smelfie.
Yeah. You don't want to get you don't want to get too close.
Yeah, but so this whole
Are you able to give a legit review after you've worked with some of these people?
Well, sometimes I have to avoid the situation. I think.
Yeah, so you just don't grade it
because it's not a paying gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not like I'm not like you getting all this money to review it and write this elegant essay.
Mission Impossible. I loved it.
Yeah, fantastic.
I liked it.
And my whole thing is I love Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Politically, religious, whatever you think of him, here's a guy that goes all out for his brand, and his brand is himself.
Yeah.
He kills himself. I mean, he broke his ankle. He broke, 5 ribs doing that movie. He beats himself out of it. And you can see this whole YouTube video of him doing his motorcycle stunts.
Yeah.
Him driving. Him fucking climbing helicopters. You know what I mean?
He said he thinks it makes it more entertaining. And he's like,
and it does.
And then he said with Mission Impossible, they asked him if he's going to do another one. He said, if this one gets people excited and it does better than the last one, then yeah, I'll do another one.
And it's perfect. Cool. And I love, even he's 56?
Yeah.
He sprints like he's still in high school. You know what I mean? Every scene he's fucking sprinting. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I sprinted across the road and I was gassed.
That scene was pretty cool where he was sprinting like forever. I mean, I'm sure it was multiple shots or whatever,
but just nonstop. Yeah.
But you're just looking at it and you're like, man, he's really trying to chase this fucking guy down.
Yeah, he does everything with such passion. That's why I just,
my wife loves Tom. She's a huge Tom Cruise fan.
Oh yeah. Well, he's just he markets himself well, and he puts everything into all his projects. And that's what you can say. He doesn't, it's like very rarely does he take a shitty job,
right?
And just writes it in. Like I watched Death Wish,
crappy.
And Bruce Willis, like he wants to be there as much as I want to be at a yawning festival. You know what I mean? He's just like, okay. He does his
phoning it in,
his half-ass smirk.
Right.
I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? He has like zero effort to it. I'm like, he just fucking wrote it in. He got a big check. He was like, fuck it.
The movies are so exciting to go to, and it's so great when you see a good one.
Yeah.
That you have to absorb a lot of bad ones.
Oh, I know. Especially these days. It's like it's like how do these movies get made?
Well, so many movies come out too, but what's weird too is there's a lot of obscure movies that are great.
Yeah.
That are harder to see. You got to go to special
the
theaters.
Ones, yeah, for sure.
I saw it's called Three Identical Strangers. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
It's really, really good. It's about triplets.
They're triplets, right. Yeah.
And they find each other, and there's a whole thing. I won't give it away.
Yeah, but I heard it's pretty fascinating. It's a documentary.
It's a documentary.
Yeah.
I think you'd like it a lot. Yeah. It's really cool. It's emotional, too. You're like, wow, I didn't know it was going to be this way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, there's movie making and good movies are just, when you make a good movie and you impact people, it's just so much fun.
You got to review my brother's movies. Just shit on all of them.
Totally.
I
said this movie would be great if Chris Bell wasn't in it. And for the second one, I said this would have been better than the first one if Chris Bell wasn't in it.
I gave it 2 saggy asses.
I gave it a gyno and a saggy ass.
Yeah, there you go. What are some other good ones that you've seen lately?
Well, I'm a fan of the comic book movies. I think Deadpool and the Avengers Infinity Wars.
Deadpool. Amazing.
Deadpool. Brilliant.
I love Deadpool.
Brilliant.
If they want to make 20 of those, I'll watch all of them.
Absolutely brilliant. Brad Pitt, best performance ever.
He's in there for like half a second or something, right?
Did you see it?
I saw the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And he only thing his salary was I want a good cup of coffee. He showed up, put his face up, and that was it.
Yeah, there was a couple other little cameos in there too, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's just brilliantly written. It's just so fun. And then, as a comic book geek, I mean, I thought the Avengers Infinity War was fucking terrific, and I love the premise. I love that there's a being out there that when he shows up to your planet, 50% is annihilated in 2 seconds. Wouldn't that be wild? It'd be like, okay, we'll see who's here and who isn't.
And Josh Brolin, he changed at Golds.
Yeah,
right?
Super good guy too. You know what I mean? Super. I'm so happy for his success. I mean, guy's been out there. He's been out there for years. I mean, he was a goon.
Yeah. Lovato said that he puts in work. He's like, man, the guy
absolutely
freaking trained his face off.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
But when he's done, he stops, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah, you gotta somehow stay on top of it. So you don't have that rebound, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some guys when they take to the weights, they love it. Some guys they just do it for their job, and that's it. Whatever the next gig is,
What's coming up?
Like I said, I got so many projects with Rayhan. We're gonna have some superhero training, superhero body programs. Because Rayhan, you know, I mean, Rayhan did most of the DC guys. He's been Affleck's guy for years, and he's such a smart guy. You know, what I mean, he knows formulations. He probably did like every big company's formulation in the '90s. You know Rayhan, right?
I don't know him. No.
Oh, really, Rayhan? Oh, yeah. He was Bill Phillips' guy. He came up with so much formulations. You got to meet him. He has a gym in Hollywood with Grant. You know Grant. What's Grant's last name? Grant's a big guy. He's always he trains people, but he's always in bit parts of movies too. So they got a little place in Beverly Hills. It's really neat, and they do assessments like nobody's business.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, they analyze everything. But he's super smart, and I've known him for EAS, and we just, you know, he came to my camp, and he just talked, and he's so passionate about everything. I'm like, we really need to get some shit going, you know. And he's like me, you know, he's an old cat who doesn't really know how to work social. Like this guy did the whole menu for the Super Bowl the year the Giants won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like Strahan flew him out there. He's like at camp. He's like, this is the guy you guys follow everything that he tells you to do. You know, of course, I hate him because they beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
But Michael Strahan to this day is always like, oh, my good friend Rayhan told me I got to eat this today. I got to watch out for that, you know? And so these guys, and I was like, and Rayhan has like 1,000 followers.
Really?
I'm like, you're so fucking brilliant. And he's like me. He's like, what do you tag? I'm like, I tag you. I'm like, I tag you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, I don't even know.
We have no idea how to work this shit. So finally, we're getting together. So we're going to do that. I got muscle camps coming up. Bill Phillips camp.
Yeah, you did a seminar here at Gold's, right?
Yeah.
Like not too long ago?
Yeah, it was Memorial Weekend, my first muscle camp.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. I had people from Australia fly out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, years ago, we used to do muscle camps. And they got too big for Gold's, and they used to go to Loyola because people wanted to stay over. So they used the dorms, and they'd have all the pro bodybuilders there. I'm like, wow, what a cool concept. I said, you know, so I talked to Danny Hester. Danny was like, oh, I'd love to do it.
Danny Hester's still jacked.
Jacked. Amazing physique.
He looks amazing.
And he's like, I was like, would you ever be interested in helping me out doing a muscle camp? He's like, I will go in there. I'll analyze everyone's physique in the posing room. I'm like, wow, invaluable. And I asked Rayhan, he goes, I'll give you a lecture about what to eat, what not to eat, the best supplements, everything out there. I'm like, holy fucking valuable. So I just did it. And so I talked to Jeff. He's like, yeah, do it. All of a sudden, Jeff calls me. He's like, oh, we're Gymshark doing a promo that day.
Oh, shit.
I was like, oh, fuck. So they kind of crushed me. So they limited my enrollment to 15 people.
Right.
But it was great. I had some soldiers come up from San Diego. What is it? Camp Pendleton.
Right.
I had these Marines come up.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of guys, and I just kind of calmed everyone. I'm like, you guys come on up. I appreciate everything you're doing. They were fired up. And a lot of guys, because I thought you were going to be able to make it, but you had your party. So a lot of guys wanted to meet you, a lot of the soldiers and everything. I said, yeah, but he'll be around. But it was really cool. And then word traveled like wildfire. You know, it was like, when's the next one? When's the next one? I was like, fuck, I got to get on this.
No, it's great. And it can be a kind of mentor program and things like that and help get the word out there. What's your diet look like nowadays?
It's usually Monday through Friday. I'm pretty clean. You know, Mondays, because I'm in the gym a lot.
What happens on Saturday and Sunday?
Oh, fucking free for all. Like yesterday, I knew I was going to try and do some legs. I was kind of squat. I did 4 or 5 for, I think, 8.
Nice.
Yeah, and I felt pretty good. But last night I had stuffed shells with a plate of meatballs. You ever have stuffed shells?
Yeah, so good.
Oh, the best. Yeah, this is Italian joint in Playa Vista. They give you fucking huge stuffed shells. They throw in spinach. They throw everything, you know. Then, of course, I had like a plate of bread, too.
Do you just go all out that whole day, or is it more like
no,
later?
Usually just a meal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing, and I talked to Rayhan about this. This is crazy. I eat less now than I did way back when.
Right.
But I'm heavier and stronger. And I said, Rayhan, I asked him at the seminar, I said, I don't want to piss anyone off, but I'm eating less, probably less than all you guys here. But I'm getting stronger and leaner than all you guys here. And I don't understand it. He said, your body's so in tune to your training, but you're feeding, he goes, you have protein? I go, protein's my priority. I go, if no matter what, I'll have protein in every meal. He goes, you are producing more natural growth hormone in your body now that you're just devouring fat all day long.
Right.
And I'm like, holy fuck, I didn't even know this. I mean, been training for years. I didn't know. I figured everything would come to a standstill. He goes, but you're speeding up your metabolism and you're creating more natural growth hormone.
And you probably don't eat a lot of fat.
No, not really.
Like just whatever's in your food.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or
But it's usually lean choices, though.
yeah. But well, I like nuts. You know what I mean? That's my source of fat. So that's.
And you eat steak and stuff like that.
Yeah,
here and there?
I still eat red meat. Burgers. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you like to enjoy. You like to have a beer, some wine,
totally, yeah,
stuff
totally.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoy life. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Like everyone asks like all day long. You get, what are you on a diet? Are you on a diet? I said I don't prescribe to any diet. I'm about healthy choices and a good lifestyle.
You want to feel good all around, not just not just when you pick up your shirt and look at your abs.
Right.
Or
I don't want to deplete myself so I'm grumpy and miserable for 4 weeks or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to deny myself going out.
Do you do that sometimes? Summer's coming up or something's coming up, and you just drop your food down a little bit, or do a little extra cardio.
I do extra cardio.
A little extra work.
When I went home, it was funny. The parents are the most honest people in the world. So I went home, and they walk in, and like my parents saw me Christmas time. I was probably like 2:15. I went home. I was 2:30, 2:32 actually. My dad's like, "Are you fucking going for goal line? We calling him the fullback?" I just start laughing. My mother goes, "Fullback, you're just a fat shit. You better start doing more cardio."
A really cool thing is, because you've always been a huge inspiration to me. When I've seen you around, you're always in good shape. And when I saw you in the beginning of this month, you're like, "Fuck, you and your brother. What are you guys doing? You guys are getting shredded." You're like, "I got to get on this shit. I gotta do cardio, or I got to do something. Like, what do I got to do?" You're like, "Well, how are you guys eating?" Like you're in panic mode.
I do. I run at night now. I have pictures of you guys. I have little glasses you guys have taped on the inside. I'm fucking chasing you every day I run. I'm like, fuckers. And when I saw you today, you're all fast. I'm like, fuck, now I got to do bodybuilding show. I hate this fucking guy.
I was all set up. I was in the sun. I was eating my chicken and rice.
Shirt you loaded up with carbs. You popped right in front of me. I was like, fucking hate this guy. I won't be able to sleep tonight. You know that.
Son of a bitch.
Don't worry.
All right, man. Well, I guess I'll see you in the gym tomorrow.
Of course you will.
Where can people find you?
Mike_Ryan_celebrity trainer, Instagram. And also your Mike Ryan, your muscle critic.
Hell yeah. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Thanks, Mike.
Cheers. Thank you.